Here we go. Hello, we're back with I've Known You Too Long. Today I have a guest that I wasn't sure I was going to get to have on the show, but having him on the show completes the thing that I wanted probably most when I started the show. I wanted all members of this band that was so important to me to have been on their own episodes, and that's what I've got today. I've got Ryan Murphy on the show.
Hello, everyone.
There he is.
I made it.
Before I do the signature question, do people call you Ryan or do they call you Murph?
Good question. In the hardcore scene, Murph.
All right, it's Murph.
In my professional life, outside, Murph has come around kind of naturally, but most of the time it's Ryan.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a long-winded answer.
I guess these days you're probably dealing with people that are talking to you in your professional life.
Yeah.
More often.
Yeah.
But when you see any old friends, it's Murph.
Always.
And you're used to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Was it weird? Is it weird if someone calls you Ryan?
Yeah, it still kind of is. I'm always like, why? Okay, yeah, that's right. Civilians.
All right, it's Murph. Murph, I've known you too long.
Yeah, maybe.
So long, in fact, that I don't actually know. I have a sense, but I don't know exactly the day we met. And I know you've listened to the podcast before, so you know what I'm trying to do here. I want to know the handshake.
Oh, man.
We'll figure out where that is. We'll go back and we'll figure you out. But
I don't know. Maybe we can pinpoint it now. Like we can put the clues together.
Do you have any idea? Have you thought?
The best guess I have is Lenny's basement.
Lenny's basement.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we're talking about is something that comes up here actually every time it's an older Northwest guy or Northwest person.
Yeah.
Lenny's basement had those two shows basically. They were Brotherhood, and one of them had First Step. I think it was the second one.
Yeah, because the second one was also Refuse.
Refuse, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you actually play that second one?
Uh-huh.
You did?
Yeah.
I think we got there late.
So
because I came up with those guys, First Step from Bellingham.
Okay.
I came down because it was Bremerton, right?
Yeah. I believe it was March of 89, that second one. And the first one was, I want to say October 88.
Okay, and if people have the Brotherhood 7-inch... the picture on the back is from one of those shows.
I believe it's from the first one.
From the first one.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I got introduced to, I feel like I got introduced to everybody at that show.
Yeah.
But other than Ron and maybe Kirsten, I think Kirsten, but I don't know that I remember people specifically from that event. I got to know people a little more in like the year after that.
Yeah, and that could be.
But you don't remember specifically meeting me there. You just know I was there and you were there.
So I'm kind of like, all the evidence suggests that I met you there.
So we're not coming from a place of specific memory.
Yeah, because I can't rely on that very often. It's just not good.
So if we're going to talk about times when we actually saw each other, knew each other, we probably met for the very first time in passing at Lenny's basement.
I think so.
But it would have been a party hall show, a Refuse, and probably when you guys became Undertow, maybe even that first night with John on bass.
Yeah.
When you played at the party hall.
Maybe. It could have even been just hanging out.
It could have, except I was up in Bellingham.
You were always up there.
Yeah. So I'd come down and we'd come down sometimes to go to shows. We'd hang with Ron and with Brian Bauer.
Okay.
And it would be, myself or Bill or Randy. We'd have Val and Jen with us sometimes. But I don't really remember hanging out. I remember hanging out with Pettibone, but when that happened, I already knew you guys.
Okay.
Knew you enough to know your names.
Right. Okay. So it may have been in just real quick passing at Lenny's, like not notable.
It counts though.
And then
right, because if we'd never seen each other again,
it could have been official. Like maybe a party hall show, maybe not even one we played. Maybe just
and I'd come up to you guys and I'd be like, "Oh, I got photos. Like I got photos developed. From last time you played."
Right.
And I feel like those were some of the first conversations I ever actually had with you guys, where I'd be standing there and I'd have like something I got from like a photo mat, and there'd be like with my stupid
Yeah.
little Instamatic camera, and there'd be 20 awful photos and like 2 or 3 kind of decent ones. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So, I mean, because you came down for shows like at Washington Hall, Party Hall.
Never Washington Hall.
Never. Okay.
No, and I just missed them all.
Okay.
Party Hall almost every time.
Yeah. And I mean, we certainly didn't play all those shows, but we went to those shows.
Yeah.
You know, so it could have just been, who knows, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it was quick.
Could have been a Last Gasp Bathroom Feast show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Because we're talking about being in Lenny's basement in 89, and it was 90, 91. We're at the Party Hall all the time. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by 1991, it was just like, what's up, brother?
Yeah. All right. And then 92, I'm moving down to Seattle. It was the end of 92, and we were hanging out at that point.
Yeah.
I saw you every few days when I first moved down there, it seemed like.
Yeah.
We would go bowling.
That's right. One family.
Well, we're one family.
The U Village lanes. Like, so I just went to U Village and I was like, holy shit.
Wait, is that where that bowling alley was?
Yeah, man. It was like super dark and just sketchy, like abandoned. It was like North St. Louis, man. Right. It was like, what the fuck? And now it's like...
now it's all...
yuppie central, right?
Yeah, it feels too expensive to walk through there for me. But, okay, we don't normally jump ahead, but since we brought up bowling, you and me and Mark Holcomb and Ron Gardapi.
That's right.
We used to go bowling.
We're the core.
Absolutely.
That was the
when
core.
I first moved to Seattle, we would go bowling, and we went there because I don't know if this is why we went there. Probably we went there because it was closest, but we had to score our own cards.
We went there because it was cheap. And it was cheap because we had to score our own cards. We had, I think the chain smoking lady that worked there taught us how to keep score.
I had learned in high school, but it was a refresher course.
To this day, I'm like, dude, I totally know how to keep score.
I totally know. I can do it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, I can totally do it.
That was great. I actually prefer it that way.
Me too. I totally do. I get it, man. I love technology and all of it.
So we had a blast. We went bowling. We brought Val Wonder along a couple times.
Yeah. And I think we had guest appearances all the time. C Hag, he came to a few.
Oh, did he go bowling with us down there?
Yeah. I remember he would like throw that bowling ball and almost break everything. It was like, dude, he's got like superhuman strength in that arm.
That would have put it. I mean, that's still a few months. No, I guess that's about right. Yeah, because he came in early '93.
Yeah, I mean,
we moved into that apartment on I was supposed to live with Derek Harn.
Okay.
And I got the switcheroo. Derek Harn moved in with his girlfriend, and I got moved in with Derek Harn's ex-girlfriend, Jen Schneeweiss.
That's right, yeah.
And that came along with Seahag.
That's right.
Which was great.
Yeah. I love that guy, man.
I love the guy too. And it was an eye-opening experience because dude liked to fight.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had been at that point well, it had been a long time. I mean, I knew someone in, early high school, late junior high that liked to fight, but not quite like this. Not, I'm going to run down there and...
I wouldn't even say that Seahag liked to fight. It was just that he was good at it.
Okay. You're right. I don't think he would start a fight with someone that didn't want to fight.
Yeah.
But he wasn't definitely...
like that. He wasn't the type to just go out and start it.
Well, were you with us the day when someone was covering up some of his graffiti?
No.
And he ran down? There was a graffiti wall, and there were like 4 or 5 of us walking, and there was a whole group of guys, and they were going over something of his. And just by himself, he just ran down there at them.
Yeah.
And was... yelling right in their faces, like challenging them all. And awesome. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is graffiti beef.
It totally is.
Got to get him on this show.
Yeah, you do.
We could talk about all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's on my list.
Nice.
All right, let's go backwards like we're supposed to.
Yes, okay.
All right, where do you come from?
I come from North Seattle, baby.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Like, not far from where we're sitting right now?
That's right. Lake Forest Park.
5 mile radius from here?
Yeah, so... Yeah, I was born here. I think I was actually born at Northwest Hospital, so right by Northgate or whatever. And then, for a brief time, I don't remember it. I was too young. My dad was in the Navy, so he was stationed down in Northern California. What is that? Alameda.
Okay.
That used to be a naval base where now they filmed Mythbusters and all that shit.
Oh, when they get out on the big open open spot?
So we lived there. We lived down there for a couple years, and then moved back up here.
And you don't remember any of that?
No, I was too young. But yeah, no, I was, I guess, yeah, preschool, yeah, and then kindergarten all the way through to high school.
That was all here.
That was all here.
Okay, did you live in the same house the entire time?
The same property.
Wait a minute. When you say that with a laugh.
So, yeah, we lived in like this piece of shit, like fucking shack that like would shake when trucks would drive by.
Oh, wow.
If the washer got off cycle, the whole house would shake.
So it was a solid structure. It wasn't like a mobile home?
No, it wasn't mobile. It was a solid structure. It was just fucking like some hillbilly built it, in like the 50s, and there was no code or something. And yeah, we had like a kerosene heater to like heat the house in the morning. And I guess when I was about 10, my parents like got their shit together enough to like get a loan and build a new house in the front yard of that old house.
Okay.
Because it was a big enough lot.
Yeah.
They could do that. And so as soon as it was done, we just moved everything from the old house into the new house. And then we just basically had like a neighborhood demolition party for like the next month, tearing the old one down.
Wait, just people came over and just tore the house down?
Yeah. I'd like invite my friends over. We can break down all the walls with sledgehammers. It'll be so much fun.
You have no idea how much I love that.
Yeah,
That's
it was
a dream.
great.
You got to do it.
I put like on a football helmet. I'm like, I'm gonna run through this fucking wall. I think I gave myself a concussion. Like I just about knocked myself out.
It's like something you saw in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was like.
Wait, how old were you when you were having the friends over to smash the house?
I was 10. I was in 4th grade.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so so when a wall comes down and I'm assuming there's plaster.
Oh my God, we found like old newspapers from like the 30s.
What, stuffed in there as like...
that was the insulation, was like newspapers. If there was any insulation. You know what I mean? I mean, this was an old house. It was like, basically it should have been boarded up. But
so then it would just get loaded on the back of a truck and taken to the dump, or?
Yeah, I think my dad just made like probably close to 1,000 trips to the dump, like whatever.
Over time.
The dump over here and like in Shoreline, like there's like that big facility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just roll up, back it on up.
Sure.
Dump your shit in there.
It's not cheap.
I don't know.
I don't know how much it is to dispose of a house over time.
Yeah, who knows, man? I guess back then in the 80s, it was fucking probably not that bad.
All right, so I did not see any remnants of that when you were late teens, early 20s. When we were, like, for example, there was a show, Mouthpiece Undertow, in your garage.
Yeah.
At that point, no remnant of the old house.
It's not true. There's an old cement patio that's still there. It was like the patio off the back door. That's still there.
And I wouldn't have known.
It just looks like a random patio, just like in the middle of this big ass backyard.
I remember there was a putting green.
That's right. There was. Holy shit.
So, okay. You had an interesting backyard, but that's not abnormal.
Yeah, just like, lunatic, suburb dad just going crazy.
Did you get to a point at 10 where you were like, well, it's down. The house is down. Or was there a point where it's like, wait, if we take out this last support structure, the roof is going to fall. It's dangerous. Like, at which point was the game over?
I don't know. I don't really remember. I don't know. I actually, as far as the physical structure coming down, I don't really remember, but I do remember we rented one of those Bobcat machines and basically went crazy, kind of like regrading the whole backyard to make it kind of flat.
Oh, once the house was gone.
Yeah, and basically like all the garbage from the old house that was still kind of laying around, littered about, just bury it,
Yeah.
So once that was all done, then we just had this big dirt backyard. It was like, okay, it's done. I guess we got to grow some grass.
So that was 10. And you went to grade school here.
Yeah.
What was your grade school?
Lake Forest Park Elementary.
Lake Forest Park.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody from Lake Forest Park? Is there anyone in your life that you know still from then?
Not in my life. So all my old friends, either we just went our separate ways as we got older, or they died. Mm-hmm. So I have like quite a few friends from there that like actually died, like drug overdoses and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Kind of weird, but
yeah, that's
what happened.
Yeah. And unfortunately it keeps happening.
Yeah,
It's been happening a lot lately.
Yeah.
Did you go to the same junior high and high school with these people? Was it like the school district lined up that way where guys you went to kindergarten with, you graduated with? Or people?
Yes, but I mean, it also was like the convergence of a few elementary schools together. Because like Mark, for instance, also lived in the same area, but he went to a different elementary school, and then we went to the same middle school.
Okay, sure.
And then it's just like that middle school like was being fed from like 2 or 3 elementary schools or something like that.
Yep, my best friend all through junior high and high school, the guy that I opened the skateboard shop with, he went to a different elementary school, and our schools were enemies. So when we had to get over that. When we first became friends in
I remember that.
6th grade.
I remember that. They closed an elementary school like up in Horizon View or something like that. And they had to come to my elementary school. And we're like, yo, we're not going to be friends with those Horizon View kids. We're going to fuck them up. I was like part of like the thug middle, like elementary school.
Were you like 4th grade?
Oh my God. We were like in 1st grade or 2nd grade. I didn't give a
Those
fuck.
are the others. You already got that going. Those are the others.
Yeah. From day one. Yeah. Day one.
So you fought in grade school?
Yeah.
Did you fight a lot?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your first fight?
Ooh. Probably.
And is your first fight prior to grade school?
No.
Okay.
No.
So they've got to put you among the other wild kids.
I had to mingle with the other wild animals, basically. And like, no, I don't fucking like you. And so it was probably like, I think 1st grade, I got in a physical altercation with another kid. And like, we went tumbling down some hill and, basically just
grappling from the start.
Yeah, just like, we're just like, I don't know. We were 1st graders. So
Sure,
just like
sure.
flailing like lunatics. Nothing's actually getting accomplished. You're just like going crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, I was getting in trouble. Like basically, yeah, first day of kindergarten.
You got that was a fight, or you got in trouble?
Trouble.
What did you do?
So there was this.
You remember your first day of kindergarten?
And it was notable.
Okay.
So, I'm in kindergarten. Like, I don't know any kids. Like, so we're all like getting to know each other. This kid, Ryan Bevington, he came up and was like, "Hey, your name's Ryan. So is mine. We should be friends." And it's like kindergarten logic takes over. Like, totally. That makes perfect sense. And so we like, we're friends now because we have the same name. And then he's like, "Hey, you want to come to my house after school? I live right up the road." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So we're walking, and keep in mind, I'm first day of kindergarten. And my mom has no idea. This is, I guess, 1979.
Right.
And my mom doesn't know. I don't have a cell phone, right?
Is she thinking you're coming home on the bus, or she's going to pick you up?
I would walk to school.
You were walking even at kindergarten. You were close enough to walk.
Yeah, but she's expecting to meet me.
Yeah.
Down on the corner, right?
How was your first day of school, Ryan?
Right, and I don't show, so she is flipping out. And so Ryan Bevington and we get to like the crosswalk, and he's like, "Hey, you want to jaywalk?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, that sounds like fun." And so we start crossing the street in front of the crossing guard, right? It's like the 6th grader. They get the crossing guard duty. And like, "Hey, what's your name? You're going to be put on report," or whatever they say. And, we just turn around. "Fuck you is my name, asshole. Suck it." And
wait, so you're 5.
Yeah. And
you said, "Fuck you" to the crossing guard.
Yeah. And so we're just like, and we're laughing. We're like, "Dude, you are the coolest. You're the coolest," because we just knew all the swear words, and we had the same first name, and all the shit that kindergartners are looking out for, right? In best friends. And so I go to his house. We're playing. He's got all these toys. He's got this awesome house. I'm like, I never want to leave. I don't want to go back to my shack.
Right.
And so finally, I'm like, I should probably go home. And so I'm like walking home. Mm-hmm. I think Ryan's mom was just like, "Does your mom know you're here?" And I'm like, "No." And so she's like, "Oh my God." So we figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I get home, I'm in like a bunch of fucking trouble.
What time is it now?
It's probably like, like 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that. Yeah, I was my mom's screaming. She's hysterical. And then not only that, the school figured out who we were, and I was on in-school restriction is what they called it, and I wasn't allowed to go to recess for the first week of kindergarten because of what we did to the crossing guard. And it's like,
there was no, "Hey, you're new here, you don't know how stuff works." They hit you right off the bat.
It was like we got to go outside, but we had to stand against a wall and watch all the other kids play.
Brutal. Wow. So wait, so that was better than just staying in, or it was actually worse to have to stand against the wall?
I just remember being pissed off. I'm like, what the fuck? Fuck the man.
The 70s, man.
That was it.
The 70s. So you, man, okay, you are out the gate so much earlier than everybody else. So, like, you know all the questions that I ask about this. When did you hear music for the first time that mattered to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what year it was. It was in the 70s. And I remember I just told my parents.
I mean, maybe before kindergarten?
I mean, Kiss.
Kiss.
For me, I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's freaking me out and I love it. You know? I mean, I'm like a little kid and I'm just like seeing this makeup and it's kind of evil and I'm like, yes.
So where are you seeing it? TV?
I think I just hear it on the radio. My dad would like listen to like the rock stations.
Okay, so you had a dad. Your dad listened to rock.
Yeah. Totally. And I don't know where I actually saw it. I think they maybe like rented some, Betamax tape or something. You know what I mean? And I don't know the year or the timing, but I remember seeing it and like, or maybe I was at a record store and I saw the album and was like, yeah, that is so cool, right? And so I think... Well,
it could have even been... That's the thing, though. Like, department stores that you'd go to with your mom would have a record section.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like the drugstore had records, you know what I mean? Down at, like, the Lake Forest Park Town Center, whatever the fuck it is. So, yeah, I think the shit was everywhere. And so Kiss, that was, like, it. And I remember... I think it was, like, Christmas, 1979. I'm like, I want this Kiss record. I want this Kiss record. I'm like, don't give me anything else. And I got Kiss Dynasty. It was my first vinyl 12-inch record.
Nice.
And so it was this awesome poster I put up on the wall, and it was just like, it was cool, right? I mean, it's kind of like...
Did you have a record
that record
player?
Now, I go back in time and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of getting into the disco Kiss era, but I'm like, I dig it,
You didn't necessarily know at the time.
As a kid, I'm just like, this looks cool, it sounds cool.
No, wait, was that the record where they changed?
I don't know if that was the official, that was like it. That was
the turning people
point,
were really upset.
Yeah, of course they were. I was like 5. I was just cool with it, like.
So you played on your dad's record player, your mom's record player?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad.
So they had that stuff.
Yeah, my dad had a record player. He had a few cool records. He had like some Boston Gatefold LPs, shit like that. And it wasn't like
that was a big one for Mark Holcomb.
He wasn't a big music guy, my dad, but he was just enough of a music guy to have a cool few things laying around,
Yeah. So Kiss, and that's a way in for a lot of people. So that's how you wanted rock, you wanted crazy.
Yeah, I wanted like, I don't know. Yeah, I wanted like, there was just something about it I was drawn to. It was like, it was loud. It was just, it seemed cool. It was, I don't know. I guess it was kind of glamorous, right? Like,
sure.
Just kind of like, whatever that is, I want some,
After Kiss, what's the next band that you related to?
Oh, man. I think after that was probably... it's like embarrassing to admit, but it's true. Probably Motley Crue.
Yeah?
Shout out the devil.
No, that's not at all. That was a huge... you're a little... The timing is right, because I remember I was in junior high when that made an impact and people were losing their minds over it, and I was totally not allowed... Well, I wasn't supposed to have anything like that. I was still definitely in the whole church mode of my life.
I mean, definitely, like, I think, like, Black Sabbath, I never was, like, really, like, blown away by it. Like, I am now. I listen to it now. I'm like, Jesus, they were so ahead of their time, right? But back then, I was just kind of like, it's pretty good. It's kind of like Iron Man, right? That was just, you're a kid, and you're like, that's so cool, right?
Yeah.
But then when, like, that Shout at the Devil came out, that was like, holy shit. Fuck, yes, dude. Satan. Even though it was like nothing to do with that, it appealed to me in my...
They've got that pentagram in the video, and
right? Yeah. And it was like heavy. It was kind of heavy, right?
Sure.
So yeah. So that was the next kind of big that was the next big musical kind of, I guess, draw for me.
And was it always like heavy rock bands? Was there ever anything outside of that you liked when you were younger?
Yeah. I mean...
what's an embarrassing, like, light one?
Oh, my God. I'm not embarrassed by it. I totally admit it openly and freely. I'm out of the closet on it. The Cure, like...
Oh, see, okay, so now people, if they just listened to Mark's episode that just got put up before this one, he thought he was going to be, that the band might be kind of like The Cure at some point, and I thought he said that you were the one that said nope.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't remember like an exact conversation, but I remember that sentiment, if that makes sense. And
sure.
I do remember like, nope, no interest in playing music like that.
But you did like them back then.
I did like that music.
Yeah. Were you keeping it a secret?
No.
Okay. So it was never, so you're out of the closet, but you weren't in the closet.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, that's like music. I don't know. I think even back then, before I really understood like emotions really, you know what I mean? And like how you can connect with emotions through music or whatever, right? I'm totally getting new agey, but
oh, good. Do it.
Even before I really had a grasp on that, I think like, The Cure was something like I'm going to listen to when I want to think about a girl I got a crush on, or, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, but when I play the drums that I'm just learning how to play, I want to beat the fuck out of something.
Right.
And
right.
The Cure is not appropriate for that.
No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. But I want to talk about it for a minute because I discovered The Cure in junior high. When did you first hear The Cure?
It was sometime in elementary school. So there was this weird like network and I don't really know the lineage of this network, but I've kind of pieced it together through the years. So I was friends with these older kids. Like one kid was a year older than me, and his older brother was like 2 or 3 years older. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe even, I don't know. So the older brother, that Jim Stevens was his name. He beat me up once because I threw a tennis ball at him and hit him in the dick. I guess I deserved it. Okay. I didn't mean to hit him there, but yeah, he meant to beat me up.
Yeah.
But so he went to school with Greg Anderson.
Okay.
So we all grew up. I didn't know Greg at this time, but Greg is from the same area. And you know how it is. You're in school. You give tapes of music to the civilians that show some interest.
Sure.
It happens, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really know. We'd have to like get verification with Greg or something. But my suspicion is that Greg was feeding some dudes that he went to school with some music. Right. And I would get the hand-me-downs of that.
Okay. So there was a network of people that were recording the tapes. So you were getting like fourth generation.
So Steve Stevens, Jim's brother that was a year older than me, who I was really good friends with, he would be like, yo, you got to hear this new band I got. And he would just say, you got to hear this new band I got. And, I'm like, where did you get this? He's like, oh, my brother got it from a friend of his. That's it. And that's where it ended. Right. So over the years, I think about that. Who the fuck was giving him tapes of like Angry Samoans and SSD and Minor Threat and the Misfits? These are like some of the first mixtapes I had were all these bands and Celtic Frost, and I'm like, fuck.
Wait, how old when you get the first one?
I was like in third grade.
Third grade?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge.
So that would have been like 83, I think, for me. So, I was getting all this stuff. I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that it was blowing my mind, right? And I'm like, this is just incredible. Like, how can I see these bands, Right. And so I suspect all the evidence suggests that we have Greg Anderson to thank for handing down this music that filtered its way to me.
It fits... And unless we have an unknown animal, right? Like some guy that was spreading this music that then moved away, right? Who we don't know because he never was part of our scene once it was a scene, and that's a possibility,
right? Of course.
But but why would you suppose this shadow figure, right? When you have someone who was doing that sort of thing,
I already got evidence to support my hypothesis, man.
Right? It's probably a bear. Why are we talking about Bigfoot?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Because I like to talk about Bigfoot every
I know you do.
There is the possibility that there have to be players in this story that we don't even know they were players. Like families move, people move around. A lot of these podcasts, I moved there in the 6th grade. Yeah. My dad got a job and he moved us up from here or there, right? They left a place, a scene came up there. Those people have their stories. And they're a part of it, but in a whole different way, So,
yeah, totally.
So yeah, maybe Greg.
Maybe Greg.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. It doesn't really matter.
Probably Greg.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's just what I think. But yeah. So 3rd grade, that's when I got turned on to the punk rock.
Wow. That's so okay. Well,
Sex Pistols too. Oh, so okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, now okay. So I'm jogging the memory. So Sex Pistols, I gotta admit, huge influence.
So when you heard that, you knew it was different, even though you'd heard some of this other stuff.
Yeah, but the Sex Pistols to me, it was just like, I'm in the 3rd grade. It's like 1983, and I hear I wanna be an anarchist. Like all that shit, and I'm like, oh.
Now, did you hear the whole classic Nevermind the Bullocks record, or did you just hear one song?
Yeah, I think that actually may have been the 2nd album I ever received.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just tell my parents, like, just buy me that.
And
buy me this.
And were they like, Sex Pistols? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just kind of, whatever.
So I think I had a cassette, but it didn't say. Like, I might have even penned over the name of the band on it so that it wouldn't get discovered in my room kind of thing. Because at that point, I was hiding. Like, I watched my older brother and my parents fight over all the music that he listened to, but he liked to turn up the music really loud. Yeah. So everyone in the house had to hear it through the walls, right?
Yeah.
And it drove him crazy, and it was 70s rock, and it was, it was a nightmare, like a horrible thing that had me upset. So as soon as I started getting into music that I knew would upset them, I would just mislabel the tapes, always listen in headphones. I went totally the other way. I never wanted them to hear what I was actually hearing, so there would be no questions.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, like, a headphone would get unplugged or something, and I'd have it up like I was doing my homework, and all of a sudden there'd be this screaming, yelling, and I'd be like, come on, I gotta get the headphones plugged back in before someone curses.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I never worried about that. I don't know.
Do you remember Zig Zig Sputnik?
Of course, I have one of the records.
Okay, so... So you know the song from Ferris Bueller's?
Yes.
But so it was that song, but on their LP.
Yeah, Shoot It Up.
Okay, so that's the thing. I'm thinking I'm safe. I'm listening to that one day. My dad comes in and he's like, what is he singing about? It's drugs, right? Shoot up. And I was like, the song is called something, something missile. Like, shoot the missile up. And he kind of just like narrows his eyes and looks at me and like walks out of the room. Like, oh, I have to hide everything.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is, I'm literally in high school at this point, and that's one of my fears, because I saw that happen with them, with them and my older brother.
That is crazy. Yeah, no, man. I never had to worry about that. My parents just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I had
I guess, I mean,
there was a lot of religion.
Yeah. I don't know. That happens.
You had none of that, huh?
No, we
didn't
had none
go
of
to church?
That. No. I got sent home from...
You did go to church.
They sent me to like you go to like the Bible camp things in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
They sent me to one in like up in Mount like Terrace or something, and basically like I was.
And you had never been exposed to Sunday school?
No.
So was it weird when they started talking to you about that stuff?
Yeah, I think I remember like it was like art time or something. I was drawing a picture, and I drew a picture, and I think I wrote like AC/DC and like
you basically did some Beavis and Butthead sketches.
Yeah, totally did. And they were just like, that's not appropriate. And I was like, why not? These are my favorite bands, and they're like, well, that is, that's, whatever they said, that's just not God's way or something. I'm like, well, fuck God's way then. Like, I don't give a fuck. I like these guys. And
so they said, can you come pick up your kid?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go back after that. They never said anything. That we just didn't go back.
Okay.
I think they must have talked to my mom. My mom was probably just like, fuck you too. My kid's not an asshole. You are,
Right. Okay. They had your back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loyal to a fault, right? Like any good parent.
So did you have girlfriends? You're doing everything else in grade school. Did you have girlfriends? Not really,
man. No, that was a tough nut to crack.
Yeah?
Yeah, no. I mean, lots of crushes, but yeah, no, I never really had a girlfriend in grade school.
Okay. Did you first get interested in The Cure because you knew a girl was interested in The Cure?
Yeah, I had a babysitter.
Babysitter that listened to The Cure.
Yeah.
Now listen, that sounds in a way judgmental. That sounds like I'm being demeaning in some way. No. Women in my life turned me on to fantastic music that I would have otherwise not given any I wouldn't just listen to it. I wouldn't have, I'd been like, oh, it's not for me. I knew a girl that I had a crush on. She used to write the names of bands on her shoes.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's that say? And it gave me a reason to talk to her.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh, this says Jesus and Mary chain. This says, da-da-da. Like, oh, I haven't heard that, but I'd go listen to them.
Yeah.
When I got, the video would come on 120 minutes or something. I'd be like, oh, I got to listen to this because she had it written on her shoes. Or, that was a way to start conversations. And I'm like, oh. And then it's like, oh, no, wait, this has enriched my life because I love The Cure so much. And then it became its own thing, Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, there were not any women in my life then that brought me heavy music. Right. It was always the guys. I think that's maybe just because there's just different appeals in general.
Yeah.
And that probably isn't the same now.
I don't think it's.
But you and I are talking about the late 70s and the early 80s, so we're in another era.
Yeah, I mean, different generation.
Certainly, everybody was saying shit. If you could go back and hear the conversations we had on any day,
oh yeah,
we were just awful people.
Yeah,
and everyone around us was just awful people.
Watch any of the movies from that era.
There you go.
It's like, I can't believe Porky's was an actual movie. That would never come out today.
No, everybody loves the Warriors, but right off the bat, the dude's saying awful shit.
I know, right? Like, it just doesn't fly today. Yeah, it's just different. It's a different, I'm not saying it's bad now. It's probably for the best, but,
No, it is. I think I believe we're evolving into being better people. No. I don't know about you and I, although I will say that the fact that we're having this kind of conversation about it, this isn't the kind of conversation our younger selves would probably look up at us and just be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you fucking losers.
But the younger people now, for everything we look down our nose at them, they are setting new standards for the society they want to live in, and I'm into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, progress.
And I will eventually be the well-meaning guy who still doesn't know the right words to use. Yeah,
of course, I know, yeah.
My father tries real hard, but sometimes he just says the worst stuff, and we all yell at him, and he's just like, what? I thought that was the nice thing to call them. And we're like, okay, them. Let's just start with that.
Yeah.
Like, you need to call them, anyone, anything.
That's right.
So,
oh my God.
Yeah, without going too much in detail there.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's take it. So you've done just about it. Did you skateboard?
Yeah, I did.
When did you start skateboarding?
Oh, that must have been probably around 85. I got 85, 86. Yeah, 5th, 6th grade.
You skateboarded going into junior high.
Yeah.
Real board?
My first skateboard was a GSD.
GSD?
Yeah, remember GSD?
No.
Yeah.
GSD.
I don't know. I went to Fallout. My mom dropped me down
wait,
to Fallout.
you got a skateboard at Fallout?
Yeah.
Okay, totally fine.
Yeah.
And I might be. GSD was the company?
No. Oh God, I fail. Give me big F. I don't remember.
No, it's okay. Do you remember your trucks or your wheels?
Oh, no, I don't.
You got a complete setup at Fallout.
Yeah, I
so
did.
you probably it was probably a fine board.
Yeah, I mean, it
wasn't
great.
a GNS?
No.
Okay.
So there was some skateboard and whoever the dude was, the initials were GSD. It was called the GSD. And I just remember thinking ooh, that's good. That's trippy.
Do you remember what the graphics look like?
No, I just remember they thought they looked trippy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah, dude. So yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't straight edge at this time.
Right.
Which I'm talking about 5th grade, but
5th grade, but you were drinking?
I never really drank.
Did you smoke weed?
Yes. First day of school, 5th grade was the first time I ever smoked weed.
So you had smoked cigarettes before that?
I tried them, but hated them. So my parents were chain smokers, and I always hated it. I was like, God, gee, that's disgusting. And so I tried it, and it's like, yeah, nah, that's just as fucking gross as smelling it.
Sure.
That's just how I felt about it.
So who do you smoke weed with in the 5th grade? And I knew kids that smoked weed in the 5th grade. I think that's a 70s and early 80s thing. Yeah. It's not that weird.
So there was the town, Lake Forest Park, the town weed dealer. And he's
smoking weed with 5th graders?
He rode his 10-speed around, and he was known because he could ride a wheelie on his 10-speed. Everyone knew. I don't even know if I should say his name. He might come and find me.
Don't say his name. Don't give him a fake name. But dude, Oh, what an incredible image.
Yeah.
So he's on a he's doing a wheelie around town on a 10 speed, delivering the goods.
Yeah, I believe he was Greg Anderson's age, because I think so. I pieced this together because like I think Greg was like 4 years ahead of me, so I never went to high school with him. By the time I was a freshman, he had already just graduated high school, and Gary Adrock. Fake name. He was a second year senior when I was a freshman. And I'm like, holy shit, that's him, right? Years later. So, Gary Adrock would he would just ride around Lake Forest Park, riding wheelies on this 10 speed in a Mickey Mouse shirt. And literally he was like the meanest dude on the planet, I thought. And like, we just found him and we like kind of pooled our money together, me, Ryan Bevington.
Oh, so you knew that you wanted to do this.
Yeah, it was a big plan.
And what made you decide to make that plan?
I don't know. It's just like, we're just like delinquent
kids. Like, we got to do this. This is on the list.
It wasn't so much it was on the... maybe it was kind of like that. It was just kind of like, I don't know, we were delinquents. We were just like suburbanite bored kids that we had no interest in like hanging out with the other kids to play sports.
Right.
Right? You know,
didn't do any of that.
We just wanted to like, you know, scoot around on skateboards and...
Yeah. So you never played any sports?
I did. I mean, I played baseball on like a little league team. I wrestled. You
wrestled at what age? Junior high?
That was in middle school.
Well, let's talk about that because I will be able to. I also wrestled in junior high, so we can compare some notes.
Yeah, that was.
But right now you're smoking weed in the 5th grade.
Yeah, so right now I'm just doing whatever I can to kind of just be that delinquent, and I mean we're rowdy kids. We didn't like people telling us what to do.
So how much did you spend?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't know.
You don't know how much you bought or how much you spent?
Don't remember.
Do you remember how you smoked it?
Yeah.
How did you
smoked it in the garage of the kid down the street. Don't remember his name. And we just all stood in a circle. And Gary Adrock would
so the guy helped you do it.
He insisted he smoke it with us. Like he was just that much of a bully. Not only did we buy it from him.
Wait, you bought it from him that he got to use some?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Okay, and also, I mean, there had to be a teaching element there.
Yeah.
What did you smoke it out of?
A pipe.
His pipe?
Yeah, I think it was his because
he didn't show you guys how to use a can?
I think he realized we didn't have anything to smoke it with, so he was like, "You fucking losers, you little shits." He's like, "I get the first rip."
Okay, so then you're going to smoke it at his pipe. He didn't like say, like, here's how to use an apple.
Oh, God, no. No. He wasn't nice. He wasn't going to teach us anything.
God. What an amazing character.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you feel any effect from it?
Not really. I mean, I think I went home and it was just kind of like, I don't know if I feel anything,
That's what a lot of people report.
Yeah. And
Did you continue?
Yeah, it wasn't like very consistent though. It was kind of like, hey, we're like in 5th grade, dude. We don't like all these resources and connections.
Yeah.
So it was like,
but very shortly after that, people in my life started trying to figure out how to get stuff all the time.
Yeah. So it was like, it was probably 7th grade. 7th grade is when everything kind of kicked off.
Yeah.
And got rolling. Yeah.
It sounds about right. Everything kicked off where you're getting yourself into some real trouble.
Yeah.
Well, so you go to junior high. What changes for you because you've done everything. I mean, you've done all the stuff already, it seems like.
Well, so, yeah. So, I don't know. Kind of like from 5th and 6th grade was kind of just like, pretty typical. I'm just always in trouble. I'm always like getting like suspended and whatever. And then for fighting or just like telling the teacher to fuck off or whatever I'm doing.
Did you win all the fights?
No, not all.
You weren't a Scot.
I definitely got beat up plenty of times.
So you were just it sounds like you're a guy that didn't really learn his lessons.
No, God no. Yeah,
it's just not. There's no a lot. Sometimes when people tell these stories, that kind of is what ends up being the part of it. But it sounds like for you, it was more of like, this is who I am, and if there's lines you can't cross with me, or it's just gonna go that way.
Yeah, I mean, I just. Like I'm too young to really know how to deal with any emotions. I didn't really. I mean, my parents. I don't want to paint a bad picture about them, but I mean, they weren't like great at giving me guidance.
Right.
I think my dad would just be like, just don't get caught throwing the first punch. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
That kind of advice.
Oh, my dad's advice was don't fight, but if you do, win.
Yeah. You know?
know?
I mean, it's that kind of stuff.
You hit them when they're down. There are no rules in a fight.
Right.
That's the kind of
Yeah.
that's what I grew up with in my head.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's pretty much the same advice I'd get. So I mean, whatever. You know, I'm kind of like at this point, you know, whatever. I didn't have like my parents weren't good role models.
Okay,
I'll say that. That's fair, right?
I don't. I hope you don't think I'm trying to get to the bottom of your issues because I don't think you have any necessarily. I'm just trying to. I like to figure out. You know.
No.
Where everybody comes from in my life.
I think so. A turning point, I think, and maybe not a turning point, but I guess a pivotal moment, anyways, was summer between 6th and 7th grade.
And were you going from 6th into it? So
into
that was
middle
okay.
school.
You didn't have a 6, 7, 8.
No.
Okay.
6th grade was the end of grade school, and then 7th grade start of middle school.
Okay.
And so me and one of my friends were out riding our bikes around, and so we were just riding. We're at like Forest Park Elementary School, just like trying to bunny hop curbed, whatever we're doing, right? And we noticed the doors open to one of the buildings, and we're like, "Yo, let's go in." Right? Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, there's a door open.
I mean, I'm like, seriously, I'm like, what the fuck? What? You know, like the adult me is like, if I saw a kid, I'm like, why do you think it's okay to just go into a fucking building? You know you're not supposed to be in there. But I did, because like it was open. Like,
yeah.
You know, they should have locked it, you know, whatever. So we go in, we like totally trash the place.
Oh, so once you're in, you're like, let's break stuff.
Yeah, break stuff, steal stuff, piss on stuff.
Oh, no.
And then we like run around to this other courtyard, and we took some of the markers we'd stolen. We're putting graffiti on the wall. And then like I go to ride my bike around the corner again, and I see there's a cop sitting on a curb, and I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go back where I'm hidden out of sight, and I tell my friend, I'm like, yo, there's a cop over there. We got to be quiet and ride the other way and get around the corner. So we're riding real quiet, get around the corner, and we start to dump all this stuff we stole, and there was a cop waiting on that side. We were totally trapped.
Oh, they knew you were in there.
Yeah. And so we got caught, we got arrested, and basically my friend was so freaked out, you know, that it was like, my parents are going to kill me. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll take the blame. I was like, my parents, they might kill me, but they might not. What do I care? You know, this is just another thing I'm in trouble for.
Oh, God.
So we're down at like the Lake Forest Park police station, and, you know, I'm like, I'm covered in like piss because they made us go in and clean up our piss. Like, I think the cops were just trying to torture us, right?
Oh.
So I'm like, can I just wash my hands? The cop's blowing smoke on my face. It's like totally like I'm seen from a movie, right?
Yeah.
They're putting words in my mouth for my statement. And, like, you used a crowbar to get in. I'm like, no, the door was open. You know, and that shit like that was really messed up, actually. So, I go into the bathroom, and my friend's in there, and I'm like, what'd you tell him? He's like, what'd you tell him? So we're getting our story straight. And
are they recording you in there?
Probably. And so come out, and so they really kind of like threw the book at us and like charged us with like a felony. It was like some kind of like a 2nd-degree felony or something. Like, basically, I was looking at spending my entire 2 years of middle school in juvenile hall, where, you know, I probably I'd have a much different outcome.
Yeah.
And then I went, you know. So, we just got court-appointed lawyers, and then I remember I was in 7th grade, school had started, and I had to go out of school for my court appearance. And we got the charges dropped to like 4 misdemeanors.
Yeah.
And I think because the cops pulled so much shady shit that like basically it was like, yeah, you guys fucked up.
And you were reporting it.
Yeah.
You were like, here's what the cops did.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know they were dealing with someone who was much more advanced.
I had some con tools in me, man. So yeah, that was kind of like, you know, I thought I was like kind of getting my shit together. I'm in 7th grade, you know, I'm trying to, you know.
You're not going to jail.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be on the straight and narrow. But then I'm like, oh.
What did your parents do about it?
I think my dad like kind of just, you know, he whipped me across the ass in the back with like his belt, you know, called me a piece of shit. I'm just a dirty criminal. And,
oh, Jesus.
You know,
all right, so there was some
real loving, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was, whatever. Yeah, I guess I was kind of traumatized at the time. Like right now I'm like, whatever. So I'm in school, and then after that, I'm like, yeah, fuck, I got off. Whew, I don't have to go to juvie. That's fucking great. Just got to do community service. And so from that point on, it's kind of like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm good.
You were not going to cause trouble.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it's cool. I can cause trouble now. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like I got away with some shit. I didn't go to jail.
You didn't think about the fact that you already had a record and that they would come down harder on you the next time?
I just had to try that much harder to not get caught, So, yeah.
So you're saying is there's some unsolved mysteries out there.
I don't know about that. I mean, it was mostly just like, buying acid or weed and stuff like that.
Okay, so you progressed up. When did you do acid for the first time?
That must have been probably the end of 7th grade. I don't remember.
I mean, before high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I knew any kids that did acid in junior high.
I was straight edge freshman year of high school.
Okay, you'd already gone through it. I think it's hard for people to understand. Like I tell people, oh, I've been clean and sober for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's 30 years this year.
Yeah, nice.
And they'll look at me like, how, no, what are you talking about? Like, so your whole life, I'm like, no. People that don't know me or know anything about me, like I was working in a casino. People try to buy me drinks and stuff. Right. Oh, I don't drink. Sometimes they want to know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I was 16.
Right.
Like, I had done everything I was going to do. Yeah. I was done at 16.
Yeah, totally.
And it blows people's minds. Like, how did you even know at the time? That's not, hey, I was on a different path.
Yeah.
But kids now, I don't think that's what kids that age are doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, who knows?
I just don't know if they let them out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that.
I think they're just doing shit online. But you can, until they can deliver drugs online.
Yeah, probably. So anyways, going back to like the 7th grade kind of thing, like that's kind of where I was just kind of like, fuck the world, man. Like, I don't give a shit.
You became a total nihilist.
Yeah, I'm like, I got through it. Like,
you want to be anarchy.
Yeah, I'm like, let's do it, man. Give me the drugs.
So, what was the first time you did acid?
What?
When was the first time?
When? So I believe that I want to say it was the very end of 7th grade.
And you don't remember the event?
I do remember leading up to it because it was a big plan. So me and another friend, we'd save our lunch money. So our mothers would give us $2 for lunch every single day.
Uh-huh.
And so basically just wouldn't eat. Like I'd go all day, wouldn't eat any food throughout the day. And like, it's $2 a day. It adds up. And so we had enough. There was like some Pizza Hut delivery driver that we heard would sell us a sheet of acid. So we saved up with another friend of ours. It was his stepbrother until we had enough for a full sheet. And
how much was that?
I don't remember, man.
Okay.
I think it might be like $50 or something.
All right.
For like 1987,
How many doses on a sheet?
It's either, I think it was like 50 or 100. Yeah. It was a multiple of 10. I don't know. Fuck. There's a lot.
Sure.
So, yeah. That was interesting.
So you went in with like 4 guys?
3 of us.
3 of you?
Yeah. Yeah. And then actually Ryan, the other dude from kindergarten, he at some point he had some connect in 8th grade. So we got it more regularly.
How long did a sheet of acid last you?
I don't know. I think it was quite a while. Because I think it was in the 7th grade, and we didn't I don't remember actually having to save money to buy any more until 8th grade.
Okay, so you don't really remember much about the first time you smoked weed. Do you remember much about the effect of acid on you the first time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh god, yeah.
And you were like, this is great, I want to do more?
So it was great at first, but so I think I had a bad trip every single time I did it.
Really?
Yeah, it would be awesome for a while, but then the night would come and I'd be in my room and I'd I can hear my inside slowing. I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? It's like the clock churning, and it's just it's slowing incrementally until I fall asleep and die.
So you were not. It wasn't good for you.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, there was some shit. I still remember. I remember. So I got kicked off the school bus in middle school for fighting on it, and so I literally had to walk 3 miles to school every day and 3 miles home. It was a fucking nightmare. I don't believe I even did it. You know what I mean?
Right, but you did it all the time.
But I would do it, and I'd be high as shit, and I'd be dude, are there I just heard a pterodactyl, you know, like.
So they kick you off the school bus for fighting, and you're walking, and you were just going to school on acid.
Yeah.
In junior high.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember just like sitting in like a history class and like thinking everyone's like staring at me, like, and I'm like, what the fuck, quit looking at me, you know? But they weren't looking at me. I was just like totally freaked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you try to make it so that it was like that every day, or did you have days where you weren't on anything where you were like, I don't know what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like every day, but I mean, there were days where like if it wasn't in my system, I'd just kind of be like, oh, dude, I don't know, like. I can't do that anymore. I can't do it anymore. Like, I don't like the way I feel, you know?
Yeah.
It freaks me out.
How did that lead to you becoming a drummer?
I guess...
Or did it?
I think it was that summer between 7th and 8th grade, I somehow convinced my parents to buy me some clunky-ass used drum set.
And it wasn't for a specific cause? It was just you thought, I should start drumming?
Yeah. I was like, I just think if I had something to do, maybe I'll really like it, and, you know, it'd be great if you guys would support me, you know, that type of thing.
And you never played any other instruments?
Never. And so they bought me this drum set, and I literally, like, I think at first I just started playing along with, like, these big-ass headphones with my, like, big-ass, like, you know, Walkman that played the cassette tapes.
Yep.
And,
so you were playing along to
it's like AC/DC. You know what I mean? Just very simple.
Sure.
You know, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't do my hand and the foot at the same time. I feel totally fucked up.
Totally understand. That's how I would be now.
Yeah, and then the summer between 8th and 9th grade, that's when, so what, I don't know what happened. Maybe if I talk it out, it'll come up. But so something happened.
Well, give me 1 second. I want one more junior high story from you before we jump in. Is 9th grade still junior high?
No.
Okay, 9th is high
Just
school. So 7th and 8th. Just
yeah.
2 grade junior high.
Yeah.
It's always different. We were 6th, 7th, and 8th in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Did you wrestle both years? 7th and 8th? Did you wrestle high?
So I started out on basically, so yes.
So you would be on acid at a match?
No, I don't think I ever was at a match.
Did you qualify for your weight class?
So I wrestled JV at first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think in okay, yeah. So the
JV meaning there'd be a secondary match and then a main match. So JV, you'd be the second, just in case someone doesn't know what this is.
Yeah. So junior varsity, I wasn't good enough at my weight division to be like the starter.
But
right?
during the week, you'd have to wrestle to see who was the varsity wrestler,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, and then
So there's a competition in training, and then there's the competition at the meet at the end of the week.
Yep. So I did actually make that starting kind of squad one time.
When you were in 7th or when you were in 8th?
7th.
Okay. You made it in 7th. I never made it in 7th.
Yeah, and so that was great. And actually I did really well. And then I ended up having to fight somebody in the next weight class up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know what it's called, some open weight division or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I lost. Like, it's just like the dude is just way bigger than me.
It's better to go up against someone who is a challenge, though.
Yeah.
Makes you a better wrestler.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why I love jiu-jitsu, man. It's like I'm like the smallest dude out there.
Do you connect jiu-jitsu, what you're doing now? Because you do jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for a long time.
On and off for a long time.
Do you feel like wrestling in junior high was kind of the start?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, not now. I mean, my wrestling base is just fucking gone. Like, I can't.
Really? Because it's like the basic stuff has stayed with me.
It hasn't. So there was for a little while, I could like kind of rely on it a little bit. Like in grad school, I was training jiu-jitsu a lot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if I went up against a real wrestler that like did it all through high school or something,
right? I'm
just like, yeah, no, dude, I have 0 wrestling skills.
Right. But against someone who never wrestled, you're gonna, know way more what to do.
It's relative for sure. But now, like, you know, in my 40s, for sure, I'm just like, going for like a takedown, that just kind of hurts. I might injure myself.
It's gonna hurt both of you.
You know what I mean? So I don't even I try not even to rely on it so much. It's just like, fuck it, you know. I just want to stay healthy.
So you, but you went back. You enjoyed it enough to do it again.
I didn't,
which is different.
I quit though in 8th grade.
Oh, you did quit in 8th?
I did quit. I started, and like the coach was really excited to have me back, but then he was like, came up to me at the lunch table in 8th grade. My hair was dyed black. I think I had a devil lock and 2 spikes, you know, like twin fin mohawk. Yeah.
I had that.
And he was just like, "The fuck are you doing, Rhino?" He called me Rhino.
Wait, Rhino was his nickname for you?
Yeah. He's like, "What the fuck you doing, Rhino? You gotta cut that goddamn hair." And I was just like, "Fuck you, dude. I'm not coming back." That was it. That was the end of my wrestling career.
Okay, so you didn't have the varsity matches?
No.
That you would have had in the 8th grade?
I didn't make it very far in 8th grade. I just don't like people telling me what to do.
Sure.
To this day.
And was he just thinking you were going to embarrass him that had someone looking like you on there? Because, I mean...
Who knows, man? I was the nonconformist. He wanted people to just look like clean-cut boys.
Right, were they saying that the hair, you couldn't wrestle with hair like that because it would get pulled?
Probably.
That
was probably his argument. Yeah, which is probably legit, but, you know, I'm like, no, dude, don't tell me what to do, because I'm just not going to fucking show. Because
the dude in Vision Quest has a mohawk.
Yeah, that's right. But it was super short, yeah. It was like
Did you find that to be a disappointing movie?
Yeah.
It should have been our big movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just kind of like, come on, man, really? Get the fuck out of here.
But the dude, did you ever want to walk around in the stands with a big tree? Like you train it because that's how you train.
Of course, man.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Still want to do that.
Who listens to this that knows what I'm talking about?
I mean, yeah, like, dude, totally, man. Like, I just want to move to the mountains and train in the fucking ice and snow, you know? Like...
All right. Let's go into high school.
All right.
You're drumming.
Yeah.
Have you stopped taking acid all the time?
Yeah. So so before we go into high school, I gotta mention, so like at the end of 8th grade, something like basically like a bunch of us got kind of busted, not by the police, but by parents.
Okay.
And so like they found a stash of like acid and some weed, and so that was kind of like, yo, the jig is up,
one of
guys.
Your friend's parents.
Yeah. And
but then
so
every parent gets a call.
Everyone got the call. And so I was just kind of like, I think by that point, I was just tired. Yeah. I was kind of just like tired and like, I don't want to be like this like drug addict. Just, I don't feel good, you know? And I was getting really into music. Like I was playing the drums kind of, right? I was trying. So at the tail end of 8th grade, I just said, fuck it, man, I'm done. And I quit hanging out with my old friends. I started hanging out with the fucking rockers. Because that's what you did when you like didn't have any other friends. You hung out with the rockers.
Oh yeah, the weirdos.
Yeah. And so I'm like, and they skated. So I'm like, cool.
Okay.
And so we'd go skating, you know, and I think at that time I had a Zorlak Metallica board.
Nice.
So the rockers loved me. And yeah, so I kind of quit doing everything.
Were you good at skating?
No, God, I was terrible. Like I was like legit, like bad.
Like could you ollie?
Barely.
Okay.
I could drop in on half pipes, and I could do like, you know, rock and rolls.
Wait, for the time we're talking about, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, but
like maybe for your own standard, but like being able to drop in on a half pipe and do a rock and roll. I mean, I was never good enough to do good rock and rolls. I never turned out very well. Like I always get like I rode loose trucks, so I always would get wobble on that turn and fall. But man, that's not easy.
Yeah,
just street skating.
Street skating was not my bag, man. I'm just terrible at it.
That's all right.
Yeah. And I just I didn't really care. I was like, I'd rather ride. I like ramps. You know, that was my thing.
That's cool. Like, what's the largest ramp you rode?
I think I don't remember the kid's name, but this is going back to like grade school again.
Backyard ramps.
Yeah, he had a backyard, and it was like 8 feet high, man.
Yep.
I definitely gave myself a concussion on it the first time I tried to drop in.
You riding without a helmet?
No, I had a helmet, but I was fucking out, dude. Like, I slammed. I didn't lean forward enough, you know. Slammed my head backwards. Like, that shit hurt.
Yeah, I broke my arm on an 8-foot ramp, and I get kids back. Oh, I think they cut it down to 6. I don't know. It wasn't quite a mini ramp. It had almost vert.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But yeah, so
and was it rickety as fuck?
No, it was pretty solid.
Oh, they built it because the ramps that we rode in the mid 80s in like Bellingham, the weather tears everything apart up here.
Yeah.
So they were basically like kids built forts, and then they used their fort building experience to build ramps that you'd get up on top of.
I mean, I think this kid's dad was like gung ho and helped and like built some sturdy ass like structure, you know, like the masonite was like fucking awesome.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, it was good. Was it covered?
No. No.
That's the one.
It fell apart for sure, but it was good. Right, it lasted, man. There was also a pool. We would break in and skate in a pool over by the old Shoreline High School.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like the dudes from
Never got
Fallout
a
would,
chance to
like
do
would
that.
always be there. And it was like always cool. I would be super intimidated, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like they were like just a lot older and I was just some dorky little kid who didn't know what he's doing. But that was kind of cool. That was always fun because there's an element of like crime involved with it.
Which definitely appealed to young you.
Yeah.
I did not know. I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know the extent that that you went to as a young man. I like it. I'm interested in hearing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that as a parent, anyone would look back now. Anyone our age that has a kid would go, "Oh my God."
Yeah. My kid can never hear this. So yeah, so going into high school, like when I'm
You're
starting
hanging
high
with
school,
the skaters,
I'm like done. I'm
and
like,
you have quit on your own.
I've quit.
But you didn't know about straight edge.
I knew about it.
But you weren't straight edge.
I was like the kid that was like, saw the movie, you know, and was like, yeah, that Minor Threat band, that's cool. I totally respect it, but it's not.
When you say
not my
saw the
thing.
movie, you mean Another State of Mind?
Of course I do.
Awesome.
So, I was totally the kid. It's like, I totally respect everything they do. I think it's badass, but it's just not me. I'm not going to claim that.
Right.
And then
I was like that for about a year, and I drank during that year.
okay.
But every time I thought,
I was like,
I kind of want to be straight edge.
I was like totally like clean and sober. Like,
But you just weren't saying that was you.
yeah. So at some point, I'm like walking. I would like get rides from my grandma's house, who lived right by the high school, so I could just kind of walk there because I was like, I don't want to ride the bus. Like, I'd walked so much in 8th grade from getting kicked off the bus. I'm like, yes, I don't want to ride the bus anymore. So Mark Holcomb would walk to school. And
See, I asked him about walking. I thought I asked him about walking because I remember you telling me that there was something to do. You meeting Mark had something to do with walking.
yeah,
Tell me the walking story.
So we would walk to I remember seeing Mark in middle school, but never talked to him, you know, and then, not for any other reason. It's just like, we were just in different scenes. Right. And, but we're walking back and forth. Right. We're like, hey man, what's up? I'm Mark. I'm Ryan. Right. So we start talking and I think he might've been wearing like a Jane's Addiction shirt. And I was like, yo, I like that band, you know, like we should be friends. Right. That kind of thing. So we get talking and he's like, and, you know, it comes up that I got a drum set. I'm trying to play the drums. And he's like, oh, dude, I play guitar. My friend Joel and I want to do a band. And it's like, he's like, you want to play drums? And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, that sounds badass. And I think probably at some point I'm like, what kind of music? And I think that came up like Love and Rockets, The Cure.
Yeah. Oh, he threw. Yeah, definitely 11 Rockets.
And I was like, you know, that's not I don't want to play that, but you know, let's just see what happens. I don't think I was outright like, fuck you, pussy. I think I was like, I want to believe anyways, I was more diplomatic.
But
like,
it wasn't because you hated the music they were talking about. It was because you just wanted to play something more aggressive.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I like those bands. I was never a big Love and Rockets fan. I take them or leave them. But The Cure, I definitely liked, you know? So I was just like, yeah, let's do it, man. Whatever. It sounds like fun. And that was the start right there. That was the start. Yeah.
And you hadn't known Mark for long.
No. Because so this was like, I mean, no shit. Like, school starts in September. And by October, I was Xing up. I was claiming straight edge, and we had a straight edge band.
A month into school.
Yeah.
Into 9th grade.
Yeah. October.
So wait.
October 88.
So then it's a good time. But okay, let me think about this now. Why did you decide straight edge? What's that event? Because you were doing this band and were they already straight edge? Or did you all kind of decide at the same time?
I don't know if it was so much that we just all kind of decided at the same time. I think what happened for me, anyways, and I don't want to speak for Mark because I honestly
that's
don't really
fine.
know.
And we've got a whole episode with him talking about it.
But for me, it was really like, so Mark's sister was dating Greg briefly.
Mm-hmm. Greg Anderson.
Yeah, and I go over to Mark's, and Greg's there, and he's got like a Youth of the Day hoodie on, and he's like super nice and like super enthusiastic about our band, and yeah, and so he's super awesome. He's like the coolest guy. And going back to grade school days, those tapes with all the music, well, one of those tapes had False Liberty on it.
Oh.
And I knew Greg was the singer for False Liberty. So I'm like, holy shit. And I think Greg's just like he's like Captain Straight Edge, right? And I'm like, sign me up, man.
Awesome.
You know, so it was like really kind of like one of those moments where, you know, I kind of put somebody up on a pedestal and, you know, you're a kid.
Sure.
You know, he's in these bands that I've been listening to and like, you know, loving for so long. So anyways, it was about October of 88. And that's when I claimed the Edge.
Do you know the day?
I don't know the day. The month's as good as we're going to get.
That's totally fine. And still to this day, huh?
Still to this day.
That's so awesome, dude. You know what? I love all the people that I do this show with, but many of them, that's not how the story goes. Right. And God bless them all. Yeah. But dude, I love it.
Yeah, it's great, right?
Yes, it's like, great. It works just fine for me now.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a very similar conversation and like last June, I was out in Boston, my old roommate, Sweet Pete. We kind of had this discussion. It was like, dude, still straight edge. You know, it's kind of like...
Well, you got to check in with the old guys.
And, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter, but when it just works out that way, it's always kind of like heartwarming, right? Like, I don't know. Get sentimental about it.
Well, it would be weird if I was the only one.
That would be weird. That would be like, very weird, right?
No, it's nice to have a few other... It's just good to have a few old timers.
Yeah, it is good.
Cool. So, Straight Edge, awesome. So that's it. And you think that was the same for Mark and Joel? It was great because I think that's how it comes in. Greg's a real big influence.
Yeah, I mean, I think Greg had a lot to do with it, for sure. I mean, like I said, I don't want to speak for those guys, but it was all, the timing was there, right? Again, the evidence suggests Greg.
He's tending a garden that he seeded years before.
Yeah, I gotta put my science hat on, you know, kind of defend my hypothesis.
So what was the name of your band at first?
At first, it was called Crime Syndicate.
Crime Syndicate.
Yeah, we were like, we need a fucking mean ass name, right? And Crime Syndicate. That's what we came up with.
Okay.
And
did you have a bass player?
Nah, that was
just the three of you, huh?
At first we did not have a bass player. We had like a revolving door of bass players for like a long time. We never had anyone consistently. When we first got going, we had this kid, Josh Barney, playing bass for a while. And I think he ended up not doing it. I think basically his parents were so like fucking over the top with Christianity that they were like, you can't fucking do that shit. You're going to hell. You know, it's like, okay, whatever.
We don't like the music, and never mind the fact that you're going to want to go play places and things.
Yeah. So, I mean, for one reason or other, like the bass player thing was just, it would never work out. And so it's kind of like, whatever. Whoever could do it, like, sure, whatever. You got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was your first show?
Our first show was Lenny's Basement.
Oh, that was the first one.
Our first show was March of 89
awesome.
In Lenny's Basement. Yeah.
Awesome. Is he scratching at the door? Thank you, hon. Good looking out. Right, Lenny's. Okay, I think you said that before. That Lenny's Basement was the first show.
Yeah. So that was our first show.
And then as Refuse.
Yeah.
How long did Refuse last before you guys switched over?
Boy. So I think we technically started kind of like towards the end of 87. Is that right? No, 88. Sorry. Old man. Towards the end of 88. And then I want to say 1990. It was sometime, I don't know the exact month or date or anything like that, but I want to say 1990. You
switched it over.
To
become Undertow.
Yes.
That was when you had John on bass.
Yes, that's correct.
John Pettibone comes in on bass. Joel is still singing.
That's right.
And then that was where people started to really pay attention. I remember being at a party hall show, and I'm sure I brought this up with Mark too. It's probably just telling the story over again, but we were down for something, you guys were playing, and it was the first time like the cassette was out.
Yeah.
And and people knew to dance certain ways at certain parts of your songs, and then there was a sing-along part, and it's still standing.
Yeah.
Right? And that was like, Val was making comments about it. Like, we went home, like, back to Bellingham from that show, and she was talking about, and these are the dances they do. And she was, like, specifically talking about, like, Sean is in the crowd, or, like, other Undertow fans that are there specifically because you're the band that's playing that night that they're stoked on.
Yeah.
And it changed. Like, suddenly you became someone to watch.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of like a pivotal moment, right? Like that demo, that first Undertow demo, as shitty as it is, like it came out and people liked it, right? And yeah, I think that's
two-color printing that Ron did at Kinko's, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I think it was like, we weren't those quirky little kids, you know, playing like really bad music anymore. We were just like, now we're just like teenagers playing mediocre music.
Yeah, we've heard Turning Point now.
Right.
We're gonna do this.
Yeah. Right. Totally. Yeah. So
now, did that Turning Point thing? Because it feels like Turning Point affected a lot of people. The guys that I knew that played music in Bellingham, it definitely did, and I saw the effect it had on people around you.
Yeah.
Did you connect to it, or were you kind of like, I don't dig it?
No, I don't get me wrong. I dug Turning Point. You know, for real, like legit, like that LP.
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
Yes.
The drumming on it, I would say, and the drum sounds for that time, I was like, holy shit, yeah, like I want my shit to sound like that, right? But I didn't connect to it like the other dudes did.
There
like,
was kind of
it
became a look too.
I was never like, I'm gonna comb my hair and tuck my shirt in. That was not my thing, man.
Right.
I may have like given it a shot here or there, and it was just like, yeah, no, I feel like a fucking clown. I'm not doing this. Not that other people are clowns. That's how I felt about myself, right?
Yeah, other people were just like, this feels good.
Yeah.
This is a look I dig.
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with my cutoff camos, man, which
Perfect.
I still have. It's the same shorts I still wear.
Wait, they're the same pair?
Yeah.
All the way from back then, huh?
All the way from like 87.
Oh,
still got them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, they don't make them like they used to.
They definitely don't, man. That is true.
Then there was, I don't know if we're jumping ahead. So from this period of time, looking from my perspective, it seemed like you guys had a lot of cool stuff going on. Ron has really entered the picture in a big way.
Oh yeah,
at this point. And this is where this whole period from like 90 to 90 up to like 93, the end of Brotherhood through Resolution, it almost feels like Greg was so influential in getting a lot of you guys involved, and it seems like Ron just took that torch, like that baton. He just ran with it.
I mean, that's good. That's a good analogy, because really what it was like Greg was there, and for us, like I guess in like North Seattle, right? Mm-hmm. Greg was like our dude that got us, like that kind of sparked it with us. And then once we were in, I never really saw Greg.
Yeah,
it was Ron. It was just like, it was almost just like, you know, Greg was the recruiter. And Ron was like, you know, the career manager, right?
That's perfect. Yeah, and he would be, that was the thing. Sure, this band's coming to town, but I'm going to set up 3 shows. I'm going to make sure the Bellingham kids can do something, you know, and everyone's going to carpool up there, and then we're all going to go out to Bremerton, you know. And then he'd be like, you've got to move to Seattle. I've got a place for you to live and a job. Things like that, you know, that he would throw at people every now and then. He's the only person I've ever known that really worked like that to build something. And he did. Oh, yeah. You know,
Ron was so involved, and like he like got everybody else involved. You know what I mean? He was just that guy. You know, that was his role. He was good at it.
And so did he put out that Undertow tape? Was that a Ron release, or did he just help you guys get the layout and everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. But
he did do the split with Resolution.
Oh yeah. That was like legit. That was Overkill, for sure.
Overkill Records, and
that I don't know about that demo, and so that's like we're gonna encounter this quite a bit. I never paid attention to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't give a fuck.
That just wasn't your.
Yeah, is it out? Cool, it's out. Cool. I don't give a shit. You know, like I didn't. Mark was kind of like the business side.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Sure. Oh yeah, because I dealt with him all the time.
Yeah.
Well, hey, and we've reached the part now where I've met you. Like, so we caught up. We've met.
That's
now
right.
we're interacting. We're bowling.
That's right.
We're in the end of 92, in the early 93, we're bowling.
Yeah.
But we're already starting to Like the first thing I did with you guys was putting out a compilation cassette.
That's right.
And you guys let me take one of the songs off of the next Undertow demo.
The second demo.
With Pettibone singing. So I remember hearing Undertow broke up. Undertow's not broken up, but Pettibone's singing now.
Yeah, so we probably need to talk about that a little bit.
Do we?
So Mark, myself, I think at the time, I don't know if the timing's right, but he did at one point Spanky, and Seth, and I even think Joel. We all worked at the Crest Theater.
Oh, okay.
So the Crest Theater was like the soap opera employer for Shorecrest High School. Like, I mean, it was at all times some kind of drama happening.
Right.
You know, and everyone knew each other. Everyone dated everybody else. It was...
Everyone knew how to sell two tickets for one or one ticket for two, whatever.
Yeah. We had that total scam. Made a lot of money. And then, so, I don't know. No, not really.
No.
So, there was some beef. There was like a total beef. So I had beef with Seth.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. So Seth and I had total beef, and it was over...
But Seth didn't leave the band.
It was over a girl.
Oh,
of course.
Really?
Yeah. That's what it's always about,
At work? You had work beef over a girl?
Yeah.
So you were both dipping in the company ink.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely... I learned this...
And so was she.
We talked about, like, you know, in my youth, not learning my lesson. So I did learn a lesson from the Crest Cinema Center.
Oh, really?
Don't shit where you eat. I mean, I don't hang out with coworkers to this day.
Because of that?
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, yeah, that's bad news.
So what was happening? Can you tell the story without incriminating people?
I mean, it's just pretty typical. And I mean, now in this part of my life, there's no hard feelings. I don't care, right? But I mean, it was just like, there was a girl, there were two guys, no one was loyal to one another.
Right.
Leave it at that, right?
Okay. No one was. It was you had a little triangle going.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you know, and you're in high school, you know, you get emotional. So, and me, I was just like, I'm going to kill that motherfucker, right?
But you guys got over it.
I don't think we ever really...
But you continued to play in the band together, didn't you?
Not for long.
Okay, so this is while you've got Spanky playing bass and John singing.
So I will say, like, I might have some of the timing messed up, but this is how I remember it. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, once you had John singing, everything changed. You guys took big steps forward as a band in terms of the way you guys came across, the way you could present what you had to a crowd, and your songwriting. So
Seth and Joel were doing Said Child. Mm-hmm. They'd started that, and they were, you know, pompadour, tucking shirts, going off in that direction. And Joel was already had missed like a West Coast tour because his parents wouldn't let him go, so we had to have somebody else fill in. You know, there's stuff like that. And so Mark and I were just like, yo, this just isn't working. And then the beef with Seth was just to the point where we weren't going to be in a band together.
Right.
You know, it just wasn't going to work. So, you know, Mark and I are like, I think we were just in the lobby working at the Crest, and we're like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to break up, but we're going to ask if Spanky will play bass and Pettibone moved to vocals, and we're going to reform under a different name.
Right.
This was premeditation.
Sure.
Mark and I were just like, this is what we're going to do.
And Spank was in Face First.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We broke up. I think Mark was like, Joel, done. Band's broken up. Seth, band's broken up. Nice knowing you. You know, that kind of
And they're
thing.
doing Said Child.
Yeah.
So they got another thing they're doing.
And I don't think they really cared. I think that kind of gave them the freedom to really just...
There were some hard feelings at the time.
Of course.
But you always wonder if the hard feelings aren't that they actually were fine with the way that it worked out, but they just don't like that it looks a certain way.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want Undertow to be gone, so I was thrilled when you guys were still doing it.
Yeah. And I think we temporarily had some really corny name that Pettibone
something Stone.
Yeah, Bridgestone.
Yeah.
Like the fucking tires, right? Like, good one, man. It's like, yeah, what are you going to do? Crime Syndicate was better than that,
I love the different perspectives we get on the show. This is great. No, that's awesome. And then...
So then we said, and then
right away, it was a different band.
Yeah.
And it was a but Seth was still in the band.
Was he?
Yeah, because when you guys played OK Hotel, and there's really great video footage, it was either Accused or Poison Idea. On stage, it's John singing, it's Spank playing bass,
Yes.
it's Seth, and it's you guys are doing an Inside Out cover.
You're right. You're right. So that helps. So my timing was off.
You did Pin and Words of Fire.
Yeah.
With John singing, and
Yeah.
so there's a little bit of a weird overlap there.
Yeah, my timing was off on the love triangle. So the love triangle was a little after the breakup thing and reformation.
That makes sense. That's
right. Because we were like, oh, is this going to be weird for Seth if we do that? I remember that now.
Okay.
So it's coming back.
So he stayed in place.
He did stay in place, but it didn't last long, right? Which is fine.
But it was, man, the what's going to happen, and then Pettibone came right out of the gate. It was strong. Your songs got better. You guys used to do an intro that you stopped doing, but it's in that video.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was called? Did it have a name?
Oh man, no. I think it was just like part of a song, right? I think it was I don't know.
You stopped doing it at some point. I always missed it.
I think we just referred to it as like the Sick of It All song.
Is that what it was?
I mean, because it was like so heavily influenced by like Sick of It All. I thought, at least for me, it was total Armand drum beat.
Awesome.
But yeah. So we got to do our thing. We got to be total hardcore, and those guys got to go off and be total pretty boys.
Yeah, and then at some point there's one more switch that happens. It's two. Seth leaves.
Yeah.
And Spanky leaves, and Damien comes in to play bass.
Yes.
And then for most people that know Undertow, they would think of that as being the Undertow that they know.
Yeah.
For you, it's like, it's half of the time, right?
You know what? Technically, yes. But if I had to assign a weight to any of the iterations, that one has the heaviest weight. And when I think of Undertow, I think of that lineup.
Right.
Like, that's how I remember Undertow. And we actually did the most with that lineup.
So we start talking. I'm going to ask you guys to be on the comp. It's a song off of the first cassette tape that Pettibone sang the vocals on. The one that became the first 7-inch.
Right.
So we put that on there. And we start talking about the idea of doing a release. Would you guys be interested in doing something on Excursion for the Stalemate 7-inch? Yeah. And what had happened is I had this tiny little record label. I put out 1007. Yeah. I put out Water Street. And then John Lisa's band from New York, I did a split 7-inch, a couple of those. And I was having a good time with it, but I was not making, I mean, I couldn't have afforded off of anything that I had done to even do the 7-inch for Undertow, and certainly not a CD version of it. There was just not, that wasn't my financial situation or the size of the label. But I started, and this is also a Greg Anderson thing, partially. I started distributing all the different releases from different labels, and Greg was doing Engine Kid. Yeah. And Bauer was putting out stuff, and so Bauer put out, the Galleon's Lap and Resolution, and so I was distributing records to Dutch East India Trading. But I'd say, like, John Lisa told me this. I've probably talked about this before on the podcast, but we started trading records. He'd be like, oh, I have this band Sleeper. Let me take some of that 1007. So we'd trade, and it's like, oh, it's not a sale, but now I have stuff for my distro. Yeah. Kids will buy them at shows sometimes, whatever. Yeah. I started doing that with certain different people, and John Lisa calls me up and he says, hey, there's this woman, Camille. She works at Dutch East, and she'll buy, like, she won't buy them up front, but she'll take records from you. So if you can trade with anybody else, you can just send her the records you traded, and they'll throw them in the catalog, and they fax this thing out to stores, and stores buy them all up. And he's like, they sell out of everything. I'm like, okay, cool. So I start asking her, hey, John Lisa says I can send stuff to you. So first I send her my stuff. Then I start sending her other stuff, but I'm running out of stuff to send her. So I'm going to friends, and I'm just like, hey, let me buy these from you. So I'd give, Greg $40 for Engine Kid 7-inches or whatever. Yeah. And then I'd go to her and I'd be like, yeah, I need, I have like 20. I'd be like, I need like $2.25 each. So I'd make like 25 cents each one, right? But she'd take them and then call me a week later, and she'd be like, yeah, they sold out first day. Get me more. And then there wouldn't be any more to get her. But I did this so many times that everything I sent her would sell immediately once they faxed the stuff, that she says, this was coming up on the end of 92. She says, listen, everything that you touch sells was not true, but the stuff that I was getting to send to her did.
Sure.
So she said, we'll put money behind anything you want to do. Like, and so I was like, no, that's not punk rock, you know? And she was like, no, listen to this. We'll just let you do it your way. Like, we'll just give you the money. We're your sole distributor. We pay ourselves back. And then after that, we get a certain percentage of it. And then all the arguments about barcodes and all those things started coming up, right? But after sitting on that for a little while, I started thinking, that Undertow needs to come out. Matt wants to put out another 10 of 7 LP. And I thought Chainsaw Orchestra was just one of the best records in the world. I'm like, oh, I missed out on that.
Yeah.
I want to I want to do 10 of 7. So I started like scheming. And that became like my thing, man. I loved the scheming. So you guys agreed somehow to let me do the Stalemate 7-inch. And so I moved down to Seattle to be closer to you.
Right.
And that was where, and I knew that if I had this deal, I had to get closer to where things were actually happening. Bellingham wasn't enough of a hub,
Right.
you know? So I moved down there and we started hanging out all the time, going bowling.
That's right.
Marking it up ourselves without the machine. And we spent that first, 6 months putting together the Stalemate 7-inch. And then along that way, we planned a tour.
That's right. We did.
And we went on tour.
And we went on that tour. I think that tour was like 8 weeks.
Yeah, man, it was 7 weeks. I don't know. I don't remember.
7 or 8
I don't
weeks.
remember any of the part of it where we were in the hot, the South. I blank out in my mind for a lot of that. You probably remember a lot of it. I might have been I remember throwing shit at a crocodile.
Yeah, I do kind of remember that. In Gainesville, I believe.
Gainesville, okay, so VAR was there. There were friendly people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that place.
Yeah. I do
but
remember
a lot of the South I hated.
Sleeping on a hardwood floor with no blanket with air conditioning blasting on me at that place. That was miserable.
That was not comfortable.
No.
Okay, so what happened was things were going cool with the 7-inch.
Yeah.
Dutch East had the 7-inch going, and we wanted to go on tour.
Yeah.
And so Dutch East was willing to front some money for an LP.
That's right.
And so the deal we made was, I'll give you guys the front money. We'll just buy a van with it. That'll be the way we can go on tour.
That's
we'll buy a van. So we spent all the money
on a van.
And then I had to and then go back and resell other shit. I ended up selling like Stalemate stuff that I had in order to pay for the studio time for the LP, which was fine. Rob Peter to pay Paul. That time it worked.
Yeah.
But we went and got a $1,700 van.
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of van it was?
Yeah, it was like it was a Chevy.
Yeah.
And it was like
a classic.
It was like, yeah, like windows, one of those ones with the windows all the way around it. And they weren't tinted. Like,
no.
It was like a fishbowl.
Totally. And you said, like we got to go out with my buddy Dan.
Yeah,
look for
Dan.
vans.
Dan Junkers.
Dan Junkers.
Yeah. I still talk to him.
Yeah. He owns or I don't know if he owns it, but he runs.
Yeah, he runs that shop.
An automotive shop not far from here. And our renter, Ernie, takes his stuff down to him.
Nice.
Yeah. Dan's awesome.
Dan's
But
great.
he was a big part. I remember him saying, this will get you around the country.
Yeah. I mean.
And we could afford it.
That's right, man. And he was right. That thing got us around.
It had trouble.
It did. That was my fault, though.
Wait, what do you mean? It was your fault?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're going to have to tell me why that was your fault, because I didn't know that anything was your fault.
Oh.
Did you do that to the van?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
The drive from New Jersey to Ohio, that was my fault. That killed the transmission. 600 miles in 6 hours.
But I don't think those are the locations, though. Because we
left Hiltz's and had to go to Ohio. Because if you remember, that tour was not routed in a logical
Yeah, but we
path.
broke down in Farmers, Kentucky.
Yes, we did. It took...
On the way to... Oh.
So we put...
I thought we hadn't hit the East Coast yet when we broke down.
We had. And we left New Jersey to drive to somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I drove overnight. And literally, like, the speedometer was, like, pegged.
No, okay. No. Mark talked about this in his episode too.
Yeah.
And you were like total like...
Damien and I are just like laughing our asses off.
Right.
And like...
You drove it so fast that you broke the speedometer.
The speedometer ended up... So I was doing like maybe like 110. And a cop flies by me. Like I was standing still.
Right.
And I was like, that's fucking awesome. And like, so I just...
I'm asleep.
I
have no idea. I'm... No idea what kind of mortal danger I'm in.
And Damien and I are just cracking up. And then all of a sudden the speedometer starts to wig out and it just like goes to 0. But I'm still got the thing floored. And like that speedometer went to...
You think that's what did the damage?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because 2 days later, we're in Farmers, Kentucky without a transmission. Sorry. I didn't do it on purpose.
Now listen.
I was just having fun.
Listen. If you could go back in time and say, I don't want that to happen. I don't want the van to break down because it was expensive and it was scary and, you know, like, yes, I understand that any rational, reasonable person would do that. But would I trade that experience for that money?
Hell
like
no.
for the one show that was missed? That was crazy, right? Yeah. Like that whole thing, you can't even believe it was real.
Yeah, I know, right? What was that? Mike? Was it the dude's name?
You call him Cooter.
Cooter.
Because remember, that was the dude from Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, Cooter.
But you didn't call it to his face.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, he would have chopped us up.
Well, if you remember, so, okay, the unhappiest part about this was everyone was tired and no one wanted to deal with it. And everyone wanted to just keep sleeping. So we were behind a service station and they were like, you go deal with it. Because the van was in my name, right?
Yeah, right.
So I ended up going around and getting a quote from the people in the service station on doing the transmission. It was going to take 3 or 4 days.
Right.
It was going to cost thousands of dollars. We were going to have to like get money. Like we were trying to figure out like, how do we do this? Do we just go home at this point? How do we get our stuff out of here? And I remember coming back and sitting out on this ledge with Damien, just kind of like thinking, this can't be how this worked. This is impossible. And I looked out and I saw a phone booth.
Yeah.
And I went, I'm going to go to that phone booth. There's going to be a phone book in that phone booth. And there's going to be an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
I walked out there and it was tiny little bullshit thing. And automotive services, there was one other listing other than the place we were. Because we were in Farmers, Kentucky. Called that guy. Oh, yeah, go check it out. We were able to limp the thing there.
Yeah.
And what was that place?
What, the shop?
The place that we took it to.
Oh, I don't remember the name of it at all.
No, I don't remember the name, but it was literally just a guy like sitting in a lawn chair, right?
Yeah. With his like sidekick, like Billy Joe Jim Bob.
But if you remember, his sidekick wasn't there at first.
I don't remember that.
No, because this is important. An important part of the story is
we got to borrow his sidekick's car.
He didn't loan us the car because he wanted us to have a car. He loaned us the car as a joke, as a prank on his friend.
Yeah. I
sent your car away with some guys from Seattle.
Yeah.
And when we drove back, remember he was fucking with them. He was like, I told you.
Yeah.
So luckily his friend was out on a beer run or something.
And we went to that lake.
Okay, Mark didn't remember this.
We show up. We're like the only white people.
Okay, no.
And it was like literally like if there were a record on that beach, we would have heard it.
Dude, not everyone remembers this the same way. But this is the thing. Prankster, who sent us in his friend's car, also sent us to the beach where there were no white people.
Right.
And he knew what he was doing.
He knew that we were going to be like...
And you know what was awesome about us? Completely oblivious Seattle liberal fucking hardcore kids. We were just like, let's go swimming. And we were just chilling. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's some fucking white privilege.
Yeah. And then they just see
on display.
And I had dreadlocks that summer.
So
they're like,
you and Mark.
White mother.
You and Mark had white guy dreadlocks.
Yeah.
And we didn't get killed.
No.
Which, to our credit, we were nice people.
Yeah.
But I think you guys got more shit about the dreadlocks in New York.
Yeah, New York.
I remember hearing some comments.
Yeah, New York, the Rastas were not cool with it. We were not down.
So we drive back from going swimming in I didn't see the sign that said no whites, but in the no white swimming hole.
Right.
And we come back. And dude is sitting there. He can't believe that we're driving up in his car.
Yeah.
And I remember that guy was
awesome
fucking with him.
And it was like an awesome 70s muscle car, too. It was like badass.
It was some kind of Oldsmobile, wasn't it? Or was it better than that?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have the appreciation
I remember
for
because
it at the time.
I love 70s muscles cars. I was like, dude, that thing is fucking badass.
So in between working on the van, and they would just sit in lawn chairs in front of the place and drink beer.
Yeah.
And remember, dude would like kick at him and be like, I hate you. He was just fucking with the dude the
Yeah.
whole time.
I do remember that.
And we went over to a park across the street.
Yeah, I mean, he would get raw with that dude.
Yeah.
Like, not just I hate you, like, you cocksucker, you know?
That was his buddy.
Yeah.
So.
It was like some weird hazing to be like a transmission mechanic, you know? Like.
Yep. Now, we all wandered over to a park kind of down the street and across from the place. And I think some of us slept in the grass.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was something.
That.
It's all a blur. Did we did he finish it that afternoon, or did we sleep overnight in the van?
Oh, no, good question. I don't...
We burned off a day, but I don't know that we burned off a night. I think it was dark when we left.
Yeah.
He finished it by that night.
So I remember because he was saying, they typically need to let the gasket soak in the tranny fluid overnight. He's like, well, we'll just let it go for like 9 hours and that should be good enough. And that's what it was. 9 hours later, he popped it all out, put it all together, and we were off.
Well, we took off and it failed again. He had to do one more thing.
Oh, did it?
There was one little thing. He's like, oh, well, hold on. We got to go back. He was taken on a test run with us, and the test run failed.
I don't remember that.
Okay, I don't know why I remember little details like that.
Yeah.
But it was, I thought, oh no, he built the whole thing.
Hey man,
I had this
the tour.
fear because we were empty of money.
Yeah, we were out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Gave him a...
You gave him a 7-inch. I remember giving him a 7-inch.
Did we... Hold on now.
We may have... We may have given him like
we didn't have... So you guys had demos, or we had...
I think we had... Was the Struggle Undertow split?
Yeah, it wasn't the Excursion one, because we finalized the artwork on that at Dutch East on Long Island on that tour. So there was something that you guys were on. It might have been a split.
I think it was the split with Struggle.
Yeah.
I think that's what we gave him. With like Jose getting cracked by a cop.
I think so.
Like, here you go.
And he was pretty yeah. He was real...
He was like kind of stoked.
Yeah.
Like,
thanks,
wow.
guys, I fucked with you this whole time. But he did the work.
Yeah, no.
And it was a great experience.
Yeah, it was good.
As crazy as it was.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. That was funny, man.
You remember, I don't think Mark remembered the beach. And I'm wrong. I'm going to go back. I'm going to be editing Mark's thing like in the next couple of days. So I'm probably wrong. He probably remembered exactly the same way you and I did. But
yeah, I definitely remember that beach, man. That was good.
So we, what are some of the memories from tour? Mark and I dug into it pretty good, but different perspectives are always good. What things really stick out from you
on that tour?
Yeah, it was with Spark Marker.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like seeing Spark Marker every night was fucking awesome.
They were so fucking good.
Yeah, it was like never got tired of watching that band. I don't know. I mean, I think just going to New York City for the first time.
Yeah.
Like that was like a big
and
highlight.
actually getting to see that there was a little bit left of scummy New York left before it was gone.
Yeah.
Like when we went to Times Square, there were still porno theaters.
Oh yeah.
Like not much, like one or two, right?
Yeah.
But that old school
around.
70s movie Times Square, it was still half.
Yeah.
And I remember going back with Champion 10 years later. Nope.
That's like Disneyland now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and like the Lower East Side was still pretty fucking seedy, you know? It was kind of cool. Like that was fun. That was memorable. Meeting Freedom.
Yes, meeting Freedom Tripodi. I don't know if I say his last name right, but
yeah, Tripodi maybe. I don't know. Good guy, man.
Sorry, dude, if I got your name wrong. Oh yeah, great guy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Getting kicked off of Long Island.
We
not Long Island, Staten Island.
We got kicked off Staten Island. We were awakened by the sound of billy clubs rapping on the top of the van.
Yeah,
and
it's a ritzy borough. Get the fuck out.
You remember that they said it was a ritzy borough.
Yeah. I just remember being so fucking miserable because it was so unbelievably humid and hot.
Yeah, and we limped back to Hiltz's, right?
Yeah. And I think...
Do you remember why we were in that van?
Because Freedom's mom kicked us out of the house.
Freedom's mom said, no more
staying. Freeloaders the fuck out of my house. She was pissed, man.
Didn't we come back from Maryland and there was a note saying we couldn't be there?
I think so, something like that. Yeah, it was just like, shit. Yeah, that was good, man.
So that was bad, but like we had a lot of cop experiences on that tour, and even when the cops were kind of shitty, because we had a couple of good, we had one good cop experience. Do you remember the first one?
I don't.
Our taillights were out.
Okay.
And we were either in Eastern Washington or we'd just crossed into Idaho.
Okay.
And we got pulled over. And the guy was like, what are you doing? Young cop. And then we told him the story that we ended up telling a bunch of other cops on that tour. Oh, band from Seattle. We're just leaving for tour. And he was like, that's so cool. And he was like, oh, wow, you're from Seattle? What kind of music do you play? And then he helped change the fuse to get the lights. And then he helped check to make sure everything was working and was like, right on, guys, you'll be good. He totally was the kind of public servant you hope someone is going to be.
I totally don't remember
Very
that at all.
quickly assessed that There wasn't anything fucked up going on.
Yeah.
Oh, let's make it safe for these guys and send them on their way with a smile. He was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was the last one.
Totally don't remember it, but that is awesome.
Right, because all the other cops were just awful.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the Staten Island cops were probably the next best.
Yeah.
Because they were at least laughing when they were kicking us off the island.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is crazy.
Do you remember Vanderbrook getting tackled by the cops of Virginia Beach?
I totally don't remember that.
We're walking back from the swimming hole that I wouldn't go in because what's the kid we were staying at in Virginia Beach?
Kurt.
Yes.
Kurt Powers. Chin X.
He's taking us to the swimming hole at night. And I'm like, are there snakes? He's like, it's like water moccasins sometimes. So there's no way in the world I'm even coming down near I don't want to be by the grass. There's snakes, right? So some people are jumping in and swimming. And as we're walking back, this bright light comes on. And they say, freeze. And everyone stops. And Vanderbrook just goes, fuck you. And keeps walking. And just the next thing you know, he's been tackled. They've got his arms behind his back. It's like, that was him. That was that guy,
Dude,
you know?
I have no
idea
why, but I don't remember it at all.
Oh, it was great.
Was I there?
You had to have been. You don't remember getting busted by the cops? And the problem was that Kurt and someone else were under there was a curfew, and they weren't young enough to be, or they weren't old enough to be out.
I vaguely remember something about a curfew.
So we were out past curfew, and then the reason why the police had been there is because they said it was illegal to park where we were parked. And so we were explaining everything, and we were like, look, we didn't know. We wouldn't do something like this. And like, and you're illegally parked. I'm like, we thought we could park here. And one of the guys pulls a branch of a tree away from a sign that said no parking. Of course. And it was like, I'm like, no, that's a scene from a movie. Yeah. But it really happened, though.
The end of a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, totally. And they ended up, after reading us the riot act, they let all of us go, including Vanderbrook. Like, we all just went on our way, you know?
Crazy.
But the one person that they were, and that's the thing, we all had IDs except for the ones that were underage, and that's what they were focusing on. The main thing they were worried about is you look like you're out after curfew.
Right. Yeah, no, man.
So crazy.
I have no idea why I can't remember that. I don't know why.
That's all right.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember that's like the tour. I met Justin Mulder.
Yep.
Justin Suburban. Met the Mouthpiece dudes on that tour. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good tour.
Do you remember? It was so much fun. Well, that was the first time I'd gone out and seen the country. I think for all of us, that was our...
Yeah, that was it. That was the first time.
We'd seen everything, right?
Yeah, like we had been up and down the West Coast a bunch.
Yeah. But that's not that we found out really quick there's a big difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember hitting you were talking earlier tonight about humidity. Yeah. I remember hitting humidity for the first time. Oh God. It was okay, where did we play where we had to walk up we had to load everything up the big wooden steps. We met the dude, he hung out, he took us swimming, he took us cliff diving, he was awesome.
Cliff diving?
La Crosse,
Wisconsin. La Crosse, Wisconsin, yes.
La Crosse, Wisconsin. And when we got out of the van, it was like, what is this? Yeah. It was the first time I had actually encountered humidity that you could tell a difference.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember that. I remember just like, I can't stop sweating. What the fuck is happening?
Awful. And I can't remember the name of the dude, but he was great. He took us we went to a good swimming place.
Yeah, it was like, I think there was a rope swing into a river.
Well, that could be. Yeah.
I think that's what that was. Yeah. I wish I could remember that guy's name.
And the show was awful.
Yeah, the show was terrible.
But whatever.
I think most of the shows on that tour were terrible. Like, as far as a turnout goes.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the shows were terrible, or they would be incredible. They'd be like John Henry West and you, and there were like a couple other bands, Sparkmarker, and a couple other bands that kept recurring on it, showing up the same place.
Was it like, didn't we play a couple times with Chokehold?
Yeah.
On that, like
in
the
Canada?
Hamilton House and...
Yeah, and with the band that became Grade.
Yeah.
Redline, or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
Or whatever band they were before that. There was another one. I remember I always liked the one band that like, you were like, why did you... Why did you think they were good? I was like, they just had something. And then we got busted we jumped off high dives at some pool in Canada.
Oh, yes. At the university.
Yep.
In Ottawa.
Yes.
Oh my God. That was a crazy night. I have very good memories of that night.
What do you remember?
So there was like, well, So that's a very good memory. I might have to walk that one back. So I do remember there was a big show.
Uh-huh.
I actually don't remember playing it at all.
Right, but it was a big stage.
But I remember there was some band playing it what's that 80s song? You're unbelievable.
Yeah, EMF.
Yeah. I mean, there was a band that I thought was EMF. I'm like, is that EMF? I mean, kids are going crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking weird. And then they have underground tunnels all over that university because it's so goddamn cold in the winter. That's how they get around. And so Damien and I found our way to those underground tunnels and we're like, I smell chlorine. That means there's a swimming pool. And so we're just like, there was like a golf cart down there and we're like driving that thing around. Like, and then all of a sudden we found the pool. And then we came back and we found all you guys. We found a fucking giant ass pool, man. It's got like a 30-foot like high dive. It's got a rope swing. It was insane.
Yeah, it was the highest thing I've ever jumped off.
Yeah. So we all made I don't know if it was that same day or if we stayed the night and went back the next day.
We legitimately swam in it. Like we were supposed to be there.
Yeah, we paid admission.
Yeah.
To get in. And like and then we're like, fucking high dive, here we go. That was the first thing we went for. That was crazy.
And then on the way back we got stopped at the border.
Yeah, I mean that was like always. Like I've been stopped at that border so much. Like it all blends together now.
Okay. You don't remember the specifics? You don't remember that they used us as a training?
I don't remember that. Which border was it? It was going...
Coming back into New York.
Back into New York.
From Canada.
Yeah.
And there was almost no one there. And they were like... The guy was like, all right, guys, it's your lucky day. Get out of the van. Here's how we're going to do this. God. And they brought people over and they were using it as training.
Oh, boy.
And the thing that tripped me out about it is that I had pepper spray on me. And it's illegal in New York. I was bringing it from Canada, but by way of Seattle, right? And so it was contraband that they found. And they had it laid out on the counter. And they were like, so this is illegal in New York State. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I thought since I could buy it in Seattle, I could just have it in the U.S. He's like, yeah, but you're coming from Canada. I'm like, oh, we're just driving around. I'm sorry, you know? And he was like, cool. All right. And he hands it back to me. I'm like, just kind of look at him. He just kind of nods. I just put it back in my pocket. I'm like, okay, this is how this works?
That's how it worked.
But do you remember that we were sitting in these chairs and then they made us all get up and move to other chairs and then they tore all those chairs apart to look to see if we stashed anything?
God, no, I don't remember that.
That happened.
Oh, insane.
But yeah, and they even said while they were doing it, we're using you as training for some of the other agents here.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
They took all the stuff out of the van, put all the stuff back in the van, and we drove away. It took a long time.
Of course, yeah. God, that's funny. Yeah,
see, that's weird. So you have no recollection of that.
Yeah, there's so many things like that.
And we had picked up a traveler too. I can't remember his name. Dude from Seattle who was up in Canada, and then we had him along for some of the... Do you remember the guy's name?
No. Was he with us on the 4th of July heading out to Long Island, though? He rode with us. And probably. He was with us when we played ABC No Rio.
Yeah?
Because he was going off for, what's the old dude's name? Ted Franco?
Yeah, I didn't get into that show, but I've told the story too many times on this podcast. I was sitting outside watching a street fight, I think.
Oh God.
I didn't get into ABC No Rio.
I had to watch that. That dude was awesome.
So he was going after that guy, huh?
Yeah. Nuke it, stick it in the micro. Yeah, all the crusties were going after that guy. It was great. Yeah, I don't remember that dude's name, but total crust punk dude. Super nice guy. Yeah,
he was good. And it was fun to have him along. Okay, so if there's anything else from the summer 93 tour that you want to bring back up, we got to come back from it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There was learning how to kickbox in Clevo's backyard.
That's right, man.
Taking that across the country.
Clevo. I still talk to him all the time. Still one of my closest friends. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man.
Things got good again when we got back to California.
Yeah, that was like a common theme. I think with every band I've ever done.
Yeah, it's like things get good again once you get through Texas.
Yeah, you got to go through the doldrums, right? And then then it's good again. Which in the West Coast, it's so weird.
Okay, so when we get home, I remember being on the freeway in a van and seeing that old view where you'd come around on I-5 and you could see the Kingdom.
Yeah.
that was such a big deal for me. We've been out for 7 weeks. I can't believe I'm back. It's over.
Yeah.
We had no cell phones. We did everything by payphone.
Yeah, I don't think I was in the van with you guys then. I think I was in a car.
Oh, that could be.
Coming up with some girl.
Oh, all right. This sounds vaguely familiar.
So that's another thing. I asked in Virginia Beach if I was there because there were times I wasn't with you guys. Like, I just would, like, go off.
Okay, you know what? That's true. And to not incriminate you, yes, you definitely had side adventures, and we all noted it. And we were all like, fucking Murph. He's off on it. He's off on a side adventure. He's writing his own chapter that the rest of us aren't going to be in. But people kept trying to take you away.
Yeah.
It was quite a tour for you.
It was, I was free. Young and free.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I remember thinking...
It was the dreadlocks.
Nah, dude. Listen.
It was
I've known you
for
a long time. I've seen a lot of people relate to you. I've heard a lot of people talk about you when you're not there. It wasn't the dreadlocks. It's you. People dig you, man. Okay. But I remember thinking, I gotta learn from this guy. Let's study him on this tour. Like I'm a student.
Oh man.
But there wasn't. Yeah, it was more what you weren't doing or something. I don't know. Are we being vague enough for people?
Probably.
Yeah. You were also the drummer.
What does that mean?
I don't know. You're beating on stuff. I have watched different people watch drummers. Once again, I'm still being vague and be very interested in watching them. And it's something about, it's like a contained primal violence.
Okay.
That is attractive in a way to certain people.
Interesting.
And I think that has to do with it.
Okay.
It's probably served you well over the years, my friend.
I mean, I don't know. I guess.
So we're back. And Undertow now, basically, all I do is I come back and go to work and start working on the next wave of Excursion releases. Yeah. And I'm working graveyard and people don't see me too much. For me, life picks up again in the summer of 1994. That's where things get exciting. Yeah, there's firehouse shows and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's shows, and I think actually Undertow went to that winter. We left on Christmas Day and drove down and picked up Strife with that same van.
Yes, and I was not along with you.
No, and it was me, Mark, and Damien.
Mm-hmm.
Pettibone had to work at like Banana Republic or something. And seriously, couldn't get time off. And,
so you went. Wait. So
I got a phone call from I think it was Andrew. Maybe it was Sid. I don't remember. Someone in Strife.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was Andrew. Called me up and was like, "Dude, we're going on tour with Earth Crisis and Snapcase." Because this was about the time when like Victory was like signing those dudes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like Snapcase, Strife, Earth Crisis, they were like, like the big three, right? And they're like, "Yeah, but we don't have a van. Can we borrow yours?" And I was like, "Oh, well, yes, but the transmission's shot. Like, cause that van crapped out when we got home."
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think I had that van. Like, that was at my parents' house.
Yeah. Once we came back, I was like, well, because we never really knew what we were gonna do with the van afterwards, and I'm like, I think it's just your van. Like, it's not like the Excursion. It's Undertow's van.
Yeah.
It was like advance money for the Undertow record. Here you go.
Yeah. So
kind of what we did with it.
So I had the van at my parents' house, and the transmission was just fucking blown out. So I told Andrew, I'm like, you can, but you're gonna have to buy a new transmission for it, and I got to get that put in. And he's like, "Well, how much is that gonna cost?" I'm like, "Let me call you back." So I call my uncle, who's like I don't know, a career like automotive parts dude or something, like,
yeah.
I'm like, "Yo, can I get a transmission for this van? And, do you know anyone?" And he's like, "Oh, let me make some calls." And he found one in a junkyard, like out on the Olympic Peninsula.
Nice.
He's like, "You just have to drive out and pick it up." It's like, it's going to be like, I don't remember what the cost was, but it was like, like $300 or something.
Yeah. And
I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go get it. So like, I think I borrowed my dad's truck, and I drove out and I got that thing. Well, first of all, and I'm like, "So can you help me put this thing in the van?" And my uncle's like, yeah, I can help. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, it's going to cost me like whatever it was, like $300. And then I got to get the thing in. And so I call Andrew back and I'm like, it's going to cost $1,000. and so he's like, okay, no problem. And he sends me the money. And so I basically go buy the transmission and I install the thing with my uncle.
Wait, so you actually did the installation?
Yes.
Well, dude, your uncle and you doing the installation is an amount of...
Right. So, I mean, I think I earned the money. But that was my tour money. So...
Did they probably never heard this story?
Probably not. But I also drove the van down there and picked them up, right?
Yeah.
And so...
It was worth it to them.
So, you know, and we're like, oh, and I think I put another condition. I was like, and Undertow has to be on this tour. And they were like, done deal. But then Pettibone couldn't go because he had to work at Banana Republic.
So you all just went for fun?
So the three of us, minus John, went and we picked them up. We drove straight from Southern California to Tracy Bergman's house in New Jersey, like nonstop, straight out there. And in the van, the bumper on that van, the rear bumper had like a tear in it. It was weird. It was all fucked up.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have a tow hitch for the van. So we had a U-Haul, rent one of these like things that go on the bumper so that you could tow a trailer.
Right.
And because of the tear in that bumper, we had to do it off center. Oh. Because we did it off center, one of the front tires would go bald every few hundred miles and blow out.
Oh no.
So I luckily packed this like 2-ton hydraulic jack from my dad's garage and had that with us. And, you know, at first it wasn't a big deal. We didn't notice. I think by the time I got into New Jersey, it's dead of winter too. It's super cold. And I noticed, I'm like, oh, this tire is getting really bald. It's just this one. What the fuck? So I just started monitoring it.
Well, the van had it was all out of whack anyway. The tires went bad on that thing faster than they should have.
Yeah, and I mean, we had, I think, 12 people crammed in this van. It's like people always had to sleep under the loft.
Right.
And all the equipment was in the U-Haul trailer. And so it was just and everyone would catch, one person would get the flu, pass it to somebody else. It went through everybody. And then the first person that had it would get another strain of it. Like, you know.
Oh, God.
It was just awful. And so we get to Tracy's. And we're in touch with John the whole time, and we're like, dude, can you get out here? Is there any way you can get out here for any of the shows? And what ended up happening is John Hiltz and Tracy pitched in, and they bought John a plane ticket.
That's amazing. And
they flew him out to Philly. Justin Mulder picked him up, and we ended up playing. There's photos from the show. I see them all the time. There's photos at Josh Grabell's basement, and we played Syracuse, and I don't know. Those are the only two shows I remember us playing. Right. But we did get to play at least two. And then John flew back. And so we were driving around though the whole time, and we'd stop every time we stopped for gas. Oh, and the windshield wiper motor went out too on that tour.
Of course. So
we'd stop for gas. I'd get out with the hydraulic jack. I think one of the roadies for Strife, Murray, he would like start pumping gas. I'd get out, jack the car up, like, you know, NASCAR pit stop style. And I'd take the tire off, and I'd go take the other, and I'd rotate the tires. I mean, I had this thing down. Right. I could get it done by the time he's done filling the tank. It was insane. And so we just...
You're pit crewing.
Because we were coming back from a show, and I think I was in Tracy's car with her, and they had a blowout. Like the tire just blew out on like the New Jersey Turnpike or something. Yeah. And like I didn't notice. And like we get back to Tracy's, and I'm just passed out. And these guys didn't show up until like the next morning. And they're like, oh my God, you guys, you didn't see us. We had a blowout. We almost crashed. It was just like so much crazy shit on just that one little, and that was only like 3 weeks. Yeah. And I think we saw like some car, some BMW, like do like 2 fucking full spins and like crash into a snowbank in Pennsylvania. And we pull over to see if he's okay. And it's like, we all just pile out. And it's like some like dude, he's like all freaked out. And we're like, yo, you okay? And he's like, I think so. And we just like, all right. And we start like moshing around his car. And this dude is just like, what the fuck is happening? We're like in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania.
He thinks maybe I died. Maybe this is what happens.
We're literally moshing around his car. We're like, we're going to get you out of this, dude. And so we push his car out of the snowbank. And they're like, all right, dude, have a good night.
Oh, see, Fantastic.
Yeah, and then what else happened? Like,
right place, right time.
I like overate. Like, I was like sick, and I just remember eating like a box of like those Boca chicken patties,
Mm-hmm.
and then like chips and salsa, and like there was like some like chocolate cake. I was just like gorging myself on food at Tracy's house, and then we go to a show. I think we played Josh Grabelle's, and then we're like coming back, and I'm laying up in the loft, and Amy Sonny is like up on the loft next to me, and I'm like, I'm gonna be sick. And you remember that van, the windows up there? They just like went out just a little bit.
Yep.
They just opened a little bit. And I just put my mouth out and I just started vomiting. And we're on the freeway and it froze solid to the side of the van. I mean, violently throwing up.
Oh, no.
And we get to Tracy's and Mark's out there the next morning. And Mark's like, I got to get this off the van. It's just like this frozen puke. Like, just like this thick, frozen stalactite, of puke on the side of the van. And Mark's out there with a hot pitcher of water to, like, get it off. Oh. And as he's doing it, it's thawing out. And he's like, oh, fuck. It smells so bad.
Oh, God. That's so awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. It was...
What a trooper, Mark.
Yeah. It was like, good for you, Mark. Like, I was just like on the couch, like, fuck it. I'm dead tired. I can't move. Yeah. And then so that was the thing. Rotate the tires every time we stop for gas. And then we drop them off in California to come back straight shot to Seattle. And you're going over the Siskiyous. We don't have wipers. Oh. And it is like snowing so hard. And like there's fog. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I can't see shit. And so we stole a squeegee from a gas station, and you just drive with the window down.
With the window down, freezing.
And you'd have your arm out, your left arm, while you're driving, trying not to crash, and just trying to squeegee the driver's side window. And that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just remember driving, white knuckling it, and I am 10 feet behind the car in front of me because I can see his taillights. If he's any further away, I can't.
Right.
And I'm just like waiting to slam on the brakes if he's gonna stop, because like I don't know what's ahead of me. And like It was like that for I don't know how long, but too long. I was like, I don't know. If now adult me, I would have pulled over and just slept. But
yeah, we'll deal with this.
Yeah,
deal with this when it clears up.
Yeah, that was nuts, man. But that was it. That was the last trip for that van.
That was the last trip for that van, and then you guys are back. We go into spring and summer of '94. In '94, it seems like things really blow up.
Yeah.
The LP comes out.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, you guys also recorded the LP.
Yes, we did.
Was it fall or spring when you recorded the LP?
I remember it being fall.
Okay.
I remember it being like dark early for some reason, and
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
we were in school. No, we weren't in school. What the fuck am I talking about?
No, did Die Down record?
I was working.
Did Die Down record when you guys were recording the LP?
Oh God, I don't remember.
No. Die Down recorded when you guys recorded a version of Cedar and a version of...
Yes, that's right.
It was like, they were like demo versions.
Yeah, it's like, we went down to Clint's. It was almost like a pre-production kind of just to record a couple new songs before Control, before the Control 7-inch.
Was it before Control or before... Because those songs got re-recorded for At Both Ends. So it was before At Both Ends. And plus, we weren't doing Die Down for a long time.
I think you're right.
So I played bass as well as I could in a band with you called Die Down, and Mark played guitar and Ron sang. Yeah. And then at the very end,
didn't Kinder play?
Kinder was in it. Kinder was in it on guitar. We played a few shows and it was fun. Yeah. It was good.
It was. I remember it. I thought that was really fun.
And we recorded the song that ended up on a Universal Choking Song compilation.
Yeah. What was it? Another Chance to Get It Right or something?
Another Chance to Get It Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so then that summer of '94, things in the Northwest in terms of, like, prior to that, the big shows would be like out at the old Firehouse, and they'd be mixed shows, right? Like more like punk rock bands playing with Seaweed and Undertow were always a good mix. Yeah. You get a lot of people. Some of the shows from that period, some of the pictures that you see from that period, where you guys have a huge crowd of hundreds of people. That would be a time when you guys be playing with Seaweed. Yeah. But then we actually started to have like more of like a dedicated hardcore scene. Yeah. It started to actually, and a whole bunch of new people came in.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And there was good and bad about that.
Of course, yeah.
But it was very exciting. And then from that point forward, some of it I lose touch. Like the 90s get weird. You get a band. You guys are gone. You do. At Both Ends comes out. You did a tour, another tour in Mark's car.
Yeah, that was 94.
That was 94, right?
With Unbroken.
You did it. Wait, with Unbroken, but they had their own vehicle, right?
Yeah, so we bought another van, and the van never left Seattle.
Oh,
Basically, we got suckered, and we didn't have Dan Junkers with us, so we didn't buy a good van. And it's not Dan's fault; it's our fault. Yeah, so that van never made it. And what happened was, I was like fighting with this like some auto shop like on Crown Hill somewhere, and I was like threatening to sue the shit out of them. You know, I was just like going crazy because these guys like charged us like $1,200 to fix it, and then it didn't fix it, and they were gonna charge us another $1,000 to like fix it again. I'm like, are you fucking nuts? You didn't fix it the first time, you know. So it was just like one of those things, and so that van was just dead. It never made it anywhere, and we were supposed to go and meet Unbroken and start the tour, and I was like, it started out, and I was like, fuck it, we're taking my car, let's go. And I had a Honda Civic hatchback.
Yep.
And we crammed in that thing, and we made it to like Kelowna, Washington. You know that little town by the nuclear reactor?
Yeah.
And my engine seized. Like, ran out of oil, and it seized up. I was like, oh shit. And we had to push it like the wrong way on a freeway on-ramp, right? And get it off the freeway. We called like Blanchard and Carlos, the Tacoma crew.
Yep.
And we were like, dude, you guys got to come get us if you can, please. We're broken down, you know? And it's like the 4 Undertow dudes and Corey Sabatini. And so they come and get us. And then we're just like hanging out in Tacoma for like a day or two. I don't remember. Like literally, we're just kind of like, what are we going to fucking do? And so we're in touch with Rob the whole time, Unbroken. And so like, oh yeah, we'll show this here show. It was good. It was all right. Didn't miss much. Whatever. So, we're playing Detroit, you know, this night, you know, or Chicago, whatever. So we were kind of keeping track, like, what are our options? And finally, Mark was like, fuck it, we'll take my car. And we're going to drive straight, and we can try to make the Chicago show. So we did. We didn't make the Chicago show, but we made Detroit. I think it took us 44 hours to get from Seattle, but we made it to Detroit, and we played. And, you know, basically, we basically had picks and sticks. That's what we had. And, like, a box of merch in the trunk.
Nice.
And, I mean, I don't think any of us really brought any clothes. Like, we just didn't have any space. So it was like, I think everyone had, like, a shitty little backpack.
Right.
With, like, almost nothing in it. And that was it. And so, yeah, we did that tour, just kind of borrowing Unbroken's equipment. That was what we did. And
it was great to have a group of connected bands that were friends that have been through shit with you.
Oh, yeah.
That could make something like that happen.
Oh, totally. That was great. It ended up being an awesome tour. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. Not the most comfortable sitting in that car, but that car was a trooper, man. That thing held up. It was an Oldsmobile 98.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. A 1978 Oldsmobile 98.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then what else happens with Undertow?
So we get back from that tour. So I think we had recorded the Control 7-inch before we left for that tour. Mm-hmm. It hadn't come out.
Right.
But I remember we passed it along to everyone when we were out on the East Coast, and they were all fired up on it. I remember that. And then we get back, what was that? So that's summer 94. I don't know. We start playing locally, but then everyone starts doing other bands, right? Like,
you did go to Europe?
We did. But
I remember shipping a big box of stuff over
that was the fall of 95.
That was next year.
Yeah. So before we went for Europe, we ended up kind of breaking up. I mean, whether it was a hiatus or we officially broke up,
right?
That's a little gray area. But you know, we were pretty much like, we walked away and it's like, let's just not do this for a while. And I mean, I think it was all mutual.
Yeah.
Is that how I remember it anyways? And I just think like, I don't know exactly what happened. I think for me personally, I think I was just getting, it's like anything else. You get tired of doing the same thing over and over again.
Sure.
You know, and I know Mark and everybody, they were like doing like 9 Iron and Dempsey, and you know, I liked those bands, you know, and then I started doing Nothing Left with Damien and Zach.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that band.
Oh, it was super cool.
Like that was the kind of shit that's my shit. That's like how I want to play the drums, right? So I mean, we kind of had those things, so it felt kind of just easier to kind of just at least take a break.
Things were changing. Things were changing. That people were getting into.
There were lots of fights,
weirder stuff. Oh, there was all kinds of internal drama, but I wasn't talking about that as much as I meant like musically things were changing. Botch was on the rise.
Yeah.
Trial was trying to still do more of what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
They came into their own.
Yeah.
Definitely towards the end of the decade. But yeah, there was a weird period of time where, you know, you had the Aurora House and you had like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of like hardcore the way you guys had played it.
Yeah.
Going on.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, I just kind of, the way I remember it, it was just kind of like a weird vibe.
Yeah.
Like it throughout the scene. Not that it was bad, but it was just kind of like, maybe it's just a time for a change. I don't know.
Sure.
And like, there was like, I remember the last show we played at like the old Redmond Firehouse. And there were like a ton of fights that night, like in the crowd. And it just put a big damper, and it was a bummer. And it was just kind of like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It was just kind of like, this isn't what we want to do. We don't want to be a part of this.
Right.
You know, and it's like, let's just take a break. And for me, I was like, I just wanted to move to the East Coast. I was like, I want to move to New York.
And you were planning that.
It was something I wouldn't say I was planning it. I just really wanted to do it. And I was like, kind of, I mean, I was also lazy. I'll admit it. Like, I didn't have a plan. It's just
Did you move to New York or did you move to Boston?
It's just going to happen, right? So I wanted to do it. And it was just something I was kind of, you know, thinking about a lot. I didn't know how I was going to do it. So in any event, we'll get to where I moved in a second. In any event, we're on a hiatus, if you will. And then the summer 95 rolls around and Ignite comes up and they play Ground Zero.
Right.
And I start talking to Casey and he's like, hey, so what the fuck's up with your band, dude? Are you guys a band or not? And I'm like, well, you know, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. Like, that's kind of how I put it. And he's like, well, we need a band to go to Europe with us because this other band on our label is being a pain in the ass. And I think he's talking about Temperance.
Okay.
And so I was just kind of like, well, so you want us to go to Europe? And he's like, yeah, can you guys do it? It'd be awesome. And I'm like, yeah, we'll go to Europe. And I hadn't talked to anybody. And so I just started, like, I don't know if everyone was at that show. I think they might have been. And I just was like, I got to talk to everyone quick because I think I just committed us to something that I really want to do. Right?
Right.
And so everyone was down. Like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Because it was a thing that wasn't checked off the list.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we got our shit together enough, right? Barely, but enough to, like, get over there.
Sure.
And so we did that tour with Temperance. It was Temperance, Undertow, and Ignite. Ended up, you know, hitting it off with the Temperance dudes. They were awesome. Ended up not hitting it off so much with the Ignite guys.
Oh.
I mean, we look back on it now, and I'm like, oh my god, that was a fucking insane tour. It's like some of the shit that happened, I can't believe. And we were all fucking pretty miserable throughout it, but looking back, I'm like, that's funny, right?
Right.
And it's like, that was pretty awesome. But yeah, that was a thing. We did that. That was a long tour too. I think that was like 8 weeks. It was long as shit. I mean, it was like, I think we left at the beginning of October and we got back almost like in December. It was insane.
I remember shipping you guys a giant box of shit.
Yeah.
Records and CDs and stuff.
Or no, maybe I'm off. I think we left in September and got back
Is that
end
right?
of October. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So here's where my East Coast jaunt starts. So when we were over there, we played a show in, I think, Leipzig, Germany, Coney Island. Awesome club. Used to love playing there. And we played with Shift and Earth Crisis, who were on tour together.
Okay.
And so that's where we kind of met the Shift dudes and lady. And so there, I'll say that. And then whatever. So we talked, hit it off. Love your band, blah, blah, blah. Had a good time, good show. And then we get home, and I literally just started renting this apartment down on First Hill. Like, I just signed a lease, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but, we got this new place, whatever. And I get a phone call, and it's Norm Arenas, Antimatter. And Texas is a reason. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, so I know you said you wanted to move to the East Coast. He's like, I might have a way for that to happen. And I'm like, oh, yeah? And he's like, Sam quit Shift and they really need a drummer. And this was for the tour Texas and Shift were doing.
Yeah.
And and basically Norm's like, yeah, we need a drummer because we're not canceling this fucking tour.
Yeah.
And he's like, so if you want to do it, we can probably get you out here. Steve Reddy, Equal Vision can fly you out. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. Like literally, like I think I might have said I'll think about it, but by the end of like the 10-minute conversation, I was like, I'm gonna do it,
Yeah.
So, just like that. I think 2 days later, I was on a plane with my cymbals, and my drums were being shipped via UPS. And yeah, Steve, I talk to Steve about this all the time, and he just laughs because it took I think 13 hours to get from Seattle to New York, because he got like the cheapest. He just laughs because he had this travel agent back then that was like some just Indian lady or something, and would get dirt cheap tickets,
right?
Because he had no money.
Yeah.
And it was just I went from Seattle to Denver to LA to Salt Lake to Dallas to Chicago to New York. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Right.
And by the time I got there, I was just I just felt like dying. And Josh Shift picked me up and was just like, yeah, we don't have a place for you to stay. No one at EVR is home. And, I don't know where they're at. And my place is way too small. And so we ended up driving to some club down on the Lower East Side. And Simone was there. And she's like, hey, I heard someone from Undertow's playing in Shift. And he's like, yeah, Murph, he's in the back sleeping. And she's like, oh my God. And she's like, dude, what are you doing? Where are you staying? I'm like, I don't know where I'm staying. I don't know. We're trying to find me a place to stay right now. And she's like, well, you can stay with me. And so I ended up staying with her and her roommates.
Awesome.
While I practiced for 3 days nonstop with Shift. And then we left for tour. And maybe it was more than 3 days. And I did stay, I think I stayed at EVR 1 or 2 nights, but mostly with Simone and Jessica. And so leave for that tour. That was another disaster. That their van blew up in Lawrence, Kansas, where we stayed for 5 days.
Oh,
while we got a new engine put in.
Right.
That's another crazy story. I had to drive to a junkyard,
which you had experience with.
The ass end of Kansas, and the dude that owned the shop in Kansas, he's like, yeah, you can just I found you guys an engine. I told so I'd been through this with a seized engine, and I told the Shift dudes, please don't buy a new engine. I think they were quoted $2,400. I'm like, it's never going to run the same again, and it's not worth it. Let's just get a U-Haul truck, we'll pile in the back and drive back to New York.
Right.
And they're like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to save this van. Okay, ceremony. That's kind of, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So we were literally in a Super 8 for 5 days in Lawrence, Kansas, off I-70, eating at the Village Inn every goddamn day. We knew the waitress by name. It was just I started looking at the little nickel one ads, for jobs. I'm like, I'm running out of money. So I drive out with this dude's truck. I get that motor, I drive it back, and all he had was AM radio, and it was just nothing but Christian radio. And I was going to shoot myself. I was like, I can't fucking listen to any more of this. And, so we get the engine put in, and we drive straight back, and we get back the day before Thanksgiving to New York City. Mm-hmm. And Coney Island High, sick of it all, is playing with Beastie Boys playing an all hardcore set, and I'm like, this is why I wanted to move to the East Coast, right?
Nice.
So I get into the show and I just like have the time of my life. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to do next? I'm just going to stay in New York, I guess. And I don't know how it happened, but I ended up hooking up and staying with Mel Gooch in her apartment. And she at the time was roommates with Matt, who was playing guitar and Mouthpiece, and he's now doing he's from Louisville, and he's back in Louisville, and he's doing that band with Bricks from CR. You know what I'm talking about? I'm drawing a blank right now.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying. I'm old. But they're good. I've heard them. But anyways, so I ended up staying there like for like $175 a month. That was the agreement on the futon. And there was I don't remember that. So it's all kind of mashed together, but I was at EVR one night and I remember, so it was like Steve and Kate, and they just had Kalini, their oldest daughter. Mm-hmm. She's like a newborn baby. And this is when EVR was still in Manhattan, and Norm lived with them. I can't remember who else lived with them. But so I get there and I'm like in my cutoff camos, right? I'm wearing like a raw deal shirt, and like Steve just looks at me and he's like, "Yo, you fucking love hardcore." And I'm like, "Yeah, don't you?" And like, and like Norm and everybody are just kind of like, like they just think I'm funny. They think I'm like, "Oh, look at this novel little, kid we got here." And so anyways, I'm there and I'm like, "Yo, like Sheer Terror's playing at the Limelight. Who's going?" And everybody at AVR is just like, "Who the fuck is this? Who would want to go to that?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Well, I'm fucking going." And so I just went by myself. And I didn't meet him there, but now one of my best friends, this dude Jerry Waldron, who I was roommates with in New Jersey for a long time, he was at that show, but we didn't meet. He was dating Simone at the time, so hardcore, right? Yeah. Everyone's related somehow. Mm-hmm. And so I'm staying with Simone, and no, this is after that. So now I'm staying with Mel in Mel's place. She had this sweet pad that her parents were paying for while she's in grad school. And so I am it's like on 13th Street or something like that. It's like awesome, like kind of in the East Village. And $175 a month, I get the futon. Mm-hmm. No privacy, but hey, $175 a month, whatever. I'm like, I'll do it. So I'm staying there, and things just got weird. I don't know. I didn't have privacy. I didn't like that. And so on the shift tour, when we went through Boston, it's like we stayed with Sweet Pete, and Sweet Pete's like, "Yo, got this basement apartment. If you want to move here, it's yours. There's a spare room." Like, it's like, there's a kid, he signed the lease, he moved back to Wisconsin. He's still paying rent. For all I care, you can just live rent free while he pays it. And so I'm like, all right, keep it in mind. So after about a month, I wasn't happy with the situation in New York, even though it was like super cheap. So I called Pete. I'm like, "Yo, is that room still for rent?" And he's like, "Oh, totally." And I'm like, "I'll be there this weekend." So I got Mel to drive me up there. And all my drums are still crammed in her closet. But I get dropped off up in Boston, move into that basement apartment with Pete. And at the time he was living with, the other roommate was Ben Chusid, who was on house arrest for writing his breakdance name on the walls all over Boston.
Okay.
And so that was for you, Mackenzie. He loves it when I say the breakdance name. And so I'm living there, and then he's on house arrest, and he can't play drums for 10-yard fight while he's on house arrest. So he and their other bandmates, like Anthony Papalardo, asked if I would do it, fill in. And I'm like, sure, why not? But you guys got to drive me down to New York so I can get my drums. So Anthony Papalardo, we borrow his parents' car or something. We drive down, pick up all my drums, drive back to Boston. So that's how I got. That's why I'm on the 10-yard fight 7-inch. Yeah. Because Ben was on house arrest, couldn't record.
So it was it was a temporary gig.
Temporary gig. It was never meant to be permanent. And so I was there about a year, and then drama. There was a lot of drama when I left. There may or may not have been girls that were involved with that. So I bailed. And so I basically, somewhere along that year I was up there, Jerry, my friend Jerry, who I met because he was dating Simone, in New York. I kept in touch with him, and he's like roadieing for that band Ensign from New Jersey. And he's like, hey man, Ensign is probably gonna be kicking their drummer out after this tour. They were on tour with Good Riddance.
Right.
So this is like the summer of 96. And he's like, do you want to play drums for them? And I just remember at the time, I'm like, oh yeah, Mandel, man. Like, so another one of my oldest friends, Mandel put out this Ensign 7-inch. Full disclosure, I wasn't a big fan of the 7-inch. But, it wasn't terrible, right? And so I was like, yeah, let me think about it, I don't know, maybe. And so I was planning on actually moving back to Seattle. And so I'd met some girl in Connecticut, and she was like, oh, I'm going to move to Seattle. She was friends with Laura Porto. And so she was like, I'm going to move out to Seattle, and whatever. Laura's helped me out. And I'm like, cool, can I get a ride? And she's like, sure, why not? And then basically something happened. I don't know, her car blew up, or she just didn't want to go anymore. Either way, that fell through.
Right.
So I called Jerry, and I'm like, hey man, all my plans just fell apart. They still need a drummer? And he's like, yeah, I think so. Let me call you back. And he calls me back, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I could probably be there next weekend. So I got this girl, Nikki, to drive me down to New Jersey. And which she was great. Nikki, nothing but respect, mad love for Nikki. And she drives me down to New Jersey and drops me off, drums and everything, one shot in her station wagon. And I moved in with Jerry at his mom's house in Cranford, New Jersey. And it was like the hardcore hotel. All the bands would stay at his mom's house.
Sure.
Maureen, the coolest lady on the planet. She was great hardcore mom, And so I did that. That's how I got to Jersey to do Ensign.
How long did you do that?
That was a fall of 96 until, yeah, I guess basically the end of December 99.
That one stuck.
Yeah. We kept busy.
Yeah.
We did a lot of touring. So that was, and so I wanted to go to Japan. I wanted to go to Ireland. I wanted to do these things. I didn't get to go everywhere. I couldn't stick it out long enough, but that's okay.
Well, listen, we're coming down to where we need to sum up.
All right.
But we don't have to be completely done yet, because I have a few more questions for you. You make it back to the West Coast.
I do.
After all of your adventures. Were there any other East Coast band adventures?
That I played in?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Or anything that you wouldn't want to leave behind in this story?
Well, I mean, we did a little East Coast tour when I was in 10 Yard Fight with this band 454 Big Block.
Mm-hmm.
And I love those dudes. And so I will say, there are a few people that I've met in the hardcore scene that some people let's just be truthful. Hardcore kids can be fucking snobs.
Yeah.
Right? But you do meet people that are just genuine, right? And there are dudes and ladies, right? I mean dudes in a very general sense, that I've met that I've lost touch with, but so Jerry's definitely one of them. I mean, these are people that from the get-go, no judgment, dude, what's up? You're new, you need help with anything, you need to, when you go get some lunch and hang out, cause you're new, they just want to be friendly and extend a hand.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those people, Jerry, when I first met him, and not that I'm totally boys or down with any this guy anymore, but I will say I was blown away at how polite and friendly he was when I met him. Was Isaac.
Oh really?
Yeah, super just hey man, welcome to New York, man. If you ever need anything, let me know. You want to grab some lunch? Let's go get some lunch down at the deli. It's wow, that's really cool, right? Not that I really got to be friends with him or anything, but I just want to say and then another guy when in Boston, Kevin Norton, man, the dude that played bass. He played bass in 454 Big Block, but he played bass for Eye for an Eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that dude was over the top cool. just was like, yo, what's up, man? Let's hang out. You know, like anything, maybe part of it. He's like, he didn't have a job at the time. And just like, and I didn't either. So we just like hung out every single day. But I mean, it was just like, you know, it's people like that, you know, that's like really great. And I mean, it's not just in hardcore, but I think especially in hardcore, like, because you know how hardcore kids can be a lot of the times. Very standoffish and, you know, I got to one up somebody for some other reason.
That's never, nothing good comes from that.
Yeah.
It's the opening invite. You came into it. Every single person that comes on this podcast or that we know, they got into it, didn't get into it because they fought their way through the crowd of tough faces.
Right.
I mean, someone welcomed them in and said, you should be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you should be part of what I'm doing.
So you know, I mean, it's things like that. It's like really cool. It makes it easy because moving to a new place is hard, man. I mean, I've done it enough. And I mean, it can be super challenging.
All over the place.
And
you just got to find someone to drive your drums somewhere.
That's right.
Up somewhere or down somewhere.
Yeah. Those days are over for me, but on my own. But I just got to drive my kids shit around, you know?
Yep. You'll be doing it for a long time, for sure.
But yeah, so, I mean, you know, there's some fun times for sure. You know, good people I met and really great experience, good life experiences, you know? Like just moving someplace new on a whim.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, I would never do that now, you know, I even if I didn't have a family to like, that I was kind of responsible for, right?
You'd be a little more.
I still might hesitate and I gotta think this through, right?
Right.
But back then, I mean, it was great. Like, just, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And I don't give a shit what happens.
And you made it work.
Yeah, I'm going to make it happen.
So you did come back out to the West Coast for a while.
I did. Yes. 2000. Started 2000.
Yep. And you were in a band out here. You were in a band with my roommate. How did you get in with the Helm?
So the Helm originally, if I remember this correctly, that started with a Ram, myself, and I believe Ben.
Is that how that started?
Yes.
That's an interesting.
And I think from the get-go, and a Ram can either deny it or confirm it, I don't know. But
we all got together one time, we were going to do something.
Yeah, but I think after that first initial, I think we may have only had one kind of practice. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was very what the Helm was, right?
Yeah.
Ended up being. And I don't think a Ram was really so into that, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this in a negative way at all.
Sure.
And it just kind of fell flat. Nothing ever happened. And then I don't know how much time went by, but a substantial amount, like at least several months went by. And then Ben was like, "Hey, I got this guy Tim that wants to like try to do a band. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And so we got together, and I think Bob was involved with that as well. I think maybe it was Bob that actually said he's got this guy Tim that wants to do it, and maybe it wasn't Ben. In any event, somebody said that, and so I was like, sure, let's do it. And those original songs that we worked on with a Ram, Ben and I, were like some of the first Helm songs.
Oh, okay.
So that's
I didn't even remember that connection.
Yeah, so there was a little bit there, and then, but from that point with Tim and Bob and myself and Ben, it really just kind of like, it just, I don't know, I felt like that. I mean, that band was, I think to this day, I think back and I'm like, that's one of the bands I think I might be most proud of. Like that was like the most fun, and I think because, I mean, I was in school still at the time. Yeah. Like I was still, I think I was just finishing undergrad and then I was working full time in a fucking miserable job. But
wait, you went to school for geology?
Yeah.
With Nate Turpin?
We overlapped. I think yes, but I think we barely overlapped. I think I was on my way out. Right. And he was kind of just.
I just remember him saying when he first went in there, he saw you in there.
Yeah,
he's talked about that a little bit in his.
Yeah,
podcast.
I remember. He was like, "Hey," and I recognized his face. I'm like, "Oh, dude, what was your name?" You know, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that I just have a shitty memory, you know, like. But yes, I totally do remember running into Nate and talking to him, you know, and then quickly remembering his name. I mean, I recognized him from like State Route and all that.
Sure,
you know.
sure.
So
I mean to take you off of the helm, but I wanted that links up to another podcast episode that we had.
Okay.
All right. So the helm.
Yeah. The helm.
You did that for a while and then you left again.
I did that for a while, and then I left for grad school.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I got accepted to a program in Delaware, so I had to move out to Newark, Delaware for graduate school. And so I left the helm, you know. There was no other reason.
Right.
I mean, if I'd stayed, I would have kept going with it.
They've morphed a few times.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So look, listen, you and I, we've been doing this for a while.
Okay.
What should we talk about on the way out?
Oh man, I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
What's going on in your life now?
So I live in St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married. I have a daughter. It's super weird. I've lived there about 7 years now. So I got there from upstate New York. So in grad school, I was kind of like a terminal master, so I wasn't staying on for a PhD. So I basically knocked my coursework out and was like, see ya, I'm out. I'm writing my thesis from upstate New York. Mm-hmm. So I started dating a woman who was actually an ex-girlfriend from the mid-90s. And so she was in upstate New York. So
did she ever drive you anywhere?
No.
Okay. So I was trying to bring it back around.
Yeah, no. That theme didn't stick on that one. So anyways, I move up. I was in upstate New York, and I was actually started working for Steve because Equal Revision's up there now.
Yeah. And
I was basically just like catching T-shirts as they come out of the dryer after printing them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, you know, I was making like nothing. It was like a miserable factory job, but I mean, it was money while I'm finishing my master's degree.
Yeah.
And then this was about 2008. So if you remember, like our economy crashed.
Oh yeah.
And New York State was particularly bad, right? And so I'm like, oh shit. I got this piece of paper now, and I'm going to be like, best case scenario, a fucking, like I'm serving coffee somewhere.
Sure. With
a master's degree and master's of science, you know? So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I just kind of opened up my job search nationwide, and I basically was like, I'm taking the first job that's like, you know, not just like the highest pay, but like the best benefits, seems the most secure. So I took a job at some company in St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm like, what the fuck? St. Louis, right? So we were, and my wife at the time, she was a school teacher. And she's like, well, I can get a job teaching probably. So it doesn't matter. We can move and try it out. Worst case scenario, we just leave, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, sounds good. So we go, and a year and a half into that job, it's just miserable, and ended up getting a new job, which pays a lot more and had more room for growth. So yeah, I'm still in St. Louis.
You just settled down. You bought a house.
Yeah, I bought a house, sold that house, and built a house.
Awesome. Roots. You setting down roots.
Don't say that.
Oh, no. Okay. There won't ever be...
All houses can be sold.
We were talking about that before we started recording. It won't be like the St. Louis Murphys.
No. I hope not. I hope not.
Way down the line.
You know, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. So that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Caught up to today. You're in town.
I'm in town.
You are, you say that the drumming days are behind you.
Maybe.
I never believe it. There's always a way to return.
So have somebody that may or may not be trying to ship me a drum set. Brandon, if you're listening, I'm waiting.
Well, I think people will be interested in that.
Yeah.
To see what comes next.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming out and doing this.
Yeah, this is fun. Thanks a lot.
You bet. I always do that. It's hard to hear the handshake. Usually there's just a,
I bumped the mic.
There's a bump on the mic. But when you guys hear that at the end of the episodes, that's the handshake.
That is it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Another episode in the can. Hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. Let's do some quick corrections. There's not much. And then I'm going to go because this was a long one. And if you're all the way to here, then I appreciate you putting in the effort. Near the beginning of the episode, I say that I'm happy with this episode because I've now had every member of Undertow on the show. And it's not really true if you consider the early incarnations of Undertow. A lot of people, when they think of Undertow, they think of the four guys that essentially put out the records that most people know and who did most of the touring. And when they do the reunions, these are the guys that play. That's John, Mark, Ryan, and Damien. But key players of Undertow also included Joel, Seth, and Spanky. So, and probably others that I'm not even thinking of right now. I haven't had those guys on the show, and I hope to eventually have those guys on the show. It'd be fantastic. But it was kind of a different, in my mind, it just feels almost like a different band. You know, it feels different because those four main guys did most of the work that people know of after they, basically learned how to do all that with these other guys. So, yeah. I have had the four principal players of Undertow on the show now, and I'm thrilled. Another thing is when I'm talking about Florida, I think I said I threw some stuff at a crocodile, and I had to check and see because I always get crocodile and alligator mixed up. And so I, of course, did a quick internet search and discovered that Florida is the only place where crocodiles and alligators coexist. It could have actually been a crocodile, but it was realistically probably an alligator. Let's be honest. I think gators are more common, and I just need to think about that. They always talk about the Gators. They're going to feed the Gators. Our sports teams are called the Gators. It's Gators that we have mostly here in the U.S. So, yeah, I'm pretty certain that I stupidly threw stuff at an alligator trying to get it to chase me, which it wouldn't do. And which is probably good because I'm here doing this podcast. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Until next time, I've got another episode recorded already. A group effort. That one's coming. Just depends on how long it takes me to edit. My schedule these days, it's hard to know how long that's going to be. And I got, as usual, all kinds of little schemes and tricks, little things. I'll announce some of it here when it happens. All right. Until next time, I'll see you. Thanks.
This podcast is a product of the Nobody's Knows Podcast Network. Executive producers David R. Larson and K. Drake Streetman. Music for this episode provided by Polymorph from the record Artifacts, Demos, and Debris.